Miss me. Now you gotta watch me feed my own ego on a live stream. Enjoy. Everybody, is it weird? Is it weird to see me? I feel like I wasn't even gone that long, and I realized, so I've been gone for like a month, and I've realized that being gone for a month, there are people who only do shows on this channel like once a month. And so I thought it was very comical as I was thinking about it the other day that my brain was like, oh, I'm going to be gone for a month. Usually I'm like constantly in a state of just working all the time. I'm going to adjust my camera angle a little here.
I didn't know how much you were going to zoom.
Oh, I can. What do you want?
Just keep getting closer and closer as you say it. It makes what you're saying sound really serious. Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
All right, let's go like this. And then
oh my God. That's amazing.
We can see my rosacea breaking out. Wow. All right, let's go back to, hang on, I'll save this position in case I need it again. It was just funny as I was like thinking of the, what is this a case, the word juxtaposition would be, where there are people who only do a show once a month, but on my end, I only perceive my own reality of how much I work, and it's a shit ton. And even taking time off, I didn't bother completely taking time off. Obviously, still was doing a ton of work, but there was this like weird moment where I'm like, lots of people only do a show once a month or even less over here on the line occasionally. Like Dr. Ben, he's like working so hard as a doctor that he's not back for, he's got like a 2 or 3 month break happening right now. You're going to be going. But meanwhile, like me, I'm like, oh, I better go make a community tab post. People will think I'm dead. Instead, everybody was like, thank you for the break from you. Goodness sakes. We were so
That's terrible.
No, there's very few people who said that. There was one person who was like, I was like, hey guys, I gotta go. I'm taking medical leave. Some shit's going down, and I gotta go. And somebody was like, this is great news. You are the worst. You are my least favorite part of the line. And I'm like, cool, dick. Just so you know, I'm showing this to everybody at the line, and now you're everybody's least favorite part of the line. Everybody here now thinks you're a dick. So.
I had someone comment recently on one of my videos saying that they really love my content. They just wish they didn't have to listen to me talk.
I could fucking rant about what you just said. Okay, here's I got to talk about it for a second. When I got so mad at a close friend of mine when Hamilton came out, because Hamilton came out and this close friend was like, I loved Hamilton. I just wished Lin-Manuel Miranda wasn't in it. And I was like, fuck you.
Wow.
Because you're an artist. This is a person who's like deep in, I won't say what art community, but an art community. And it's the sort of thing where it's like, kind of like how if it's, you know, if it was video, they're in the videos. But it's a thing of like, they create something that is for them and it is presented with them as the core thing. And I'm like, what if you went and create, like you put all this time, effort and shit into creating something. And it's truly your, and I was just sitting there going like, you know, we'll just go with the video metaphor because that wasn't it. I really like the videos you make. I just wish you weren't in them. It's just like,
oh my God,
fuck you. Like
Lin-Manuel Miranda
made Hamilton. I don't care if sometimes when he sings, he sounds a little Kermity. He gets to be Hamilton. Fucking assholes.
Yep. Well, that's me. Here I am, Hamilton. That's what you get with Eve Was Framed. Eve.
That's right. That's right. I don't know why. It's not even a real. Oh my God. I think I still have music playing. I feel like I can faintly hear Green Day right now. Is that?
I can't hear anything.
It's really faint because it's on my board. I'm gonna only let it play for half a second. That's it.
Yes.
On holiday. All right. I've got to pause now so that I can bring in the. I'm launching this new podcast. There's the Lines Patreon podcast, but there's also the personal podcast that I'm about to launch called Jimmy Snow Has a Podcast. And I, for years,
really great title, by the way.
I know, the best title anyone's ever come up with.
The best.
Genius. I wanted for years to have one line from a Green Day song be the intro to my, in this case, podcast. And I've not yet achieved a level of fame that I can request it yet. But it's literally just my name is Jimmy and you better not wear it out. That would be it. Sorry I switched keys there. That's gonna really fuck with a lot of you Pitch Perfect people, because I it should have been my name is Jimmy and you better not wear it out. I don't know why I keys changed in the moment.
That was nice. Why can't you make your own cover of it and do that?
I mean, how would you feel if somebody even if it was someone you agreed with, just took one of your songs, took one sentence from it?
Yeah.
Let's say they're making a vampire podcast, right? And you've got your vampire song. Do people know about that yet? Has that been released publicly?
That's out. Yeah. At first I was like, what are you even talking about? Oh, you're talking about a song I put out.
Yeah.
It is out.
I listen to your music. So sweet. If in that case you sent me that one. That's why I asked if it was out already.
That's true. You got to hear it early.
I felt very good. And I told you, I was like, I love this song, except for one part where my brain was expecting, the song's great. And even this part is great. What isn't great is, and I'm sorry, people are going to be like, Jimmy, that's fucked up to say online. What's not great is autism. My autism. Let me just say, not broadly, my autism. Because the song, it's funny how like you'll be listening to a song and you think you start to figure out like the structure and the rhyming scheme and everything else. And so I thought I was in there and I had it. And you end this one phrase with habits, and it sounds like you're about to end the next phrase with have it, but you don't. And I'm like, why? It felt like an affront to my autism, but I'm positive won't bother anyone besides me in the entire world. It's a great song.
It's funny because I was in a songwriting session the other day, and the songwriter and I were talking about specifically how we can't stand to end a line with what somebody expects the rhyme to be. Like it has to be an unexpected rhyme. So I'm so sorry to say we're intentionally doing that to you.
Do you ever wonder though if like, so this is me working through some of my own stuff. So please don't take this as me trying to give you writing advice. But I want to talk about like some of the things I think about creatively that then sometimes I go like, in this case, I wonder when I hear something like that, it sounds like me in my photography days where I was like, I'm going to do this, but here's what everybody else does. I'm going to do this different to unchange expectations. And then you like publish it and people are just like, so the thing about expectations is they work and this didn't. Do you ever worry that it's like, that some things you have to, it's kind of like content creation. You have to make 5 garbage videos that'll do super viral to pay for your one that no one's going to watch.
Right. No, kind of, except when you're just like rhyming that and hat and like, if you're choosing the easiest and the most, sometimes it does make sense to go with the most obvious rhyme. But if you always go with that, it starts sounding very Disney-ish. And if that's the vibe you're going for, then that is cool. But if you're not, I don't know. I bet if you go listen to some of your favorite songs, I bet they're not saying the most obvious rhyme.
I get what you mean now. I was more saying breaking the scheme of rhyming, because this was something where I think it's the lead into the chorus.
And it just doesn't even rhyme at all.
Right. It kind of like, it has the word have. I'm not trying to fight for you to change the song at all.
Let's fight. Let's debate all of my song lyrics tonight.
Now.
Call and tell us why my song lyrics suck.
No, I love
debate you.
Whenever I listen to music too,
I'm trying to remember the line. Okay, so don't blame me for my vampire habits. Oh, I know. And then the line is, I'm craving everything I know I shouldn't have. And you thought it was going to be habit. Rhyme with habit. Yeah.
And so for the record, I didn't think it would be I shouldn't have it. I knew by I shouldn't that I was like, oh, this isn't good.
And you're like, it's already fucked for you.
Yeah. It wasn't fucked. It was I failed to anticipate this correctly.
That was because my other priority is if I'm telling a story, then fuck anybody who's listening to it if it doesn't rhyme at that point, because I'm not going to change the whole thing. And That's what happened.
Anyway,
So,
people should. What's the name of the song? Where can people find it if they
it's
wanted to listen to it?
yeah, I think yes, it is called Vampire Habits.
I thought so.
And it's everywhere. It's on YouTube and Spotify and all this stuff. But our band name is called, I don't know if you call it a band when it's two people and there's
Right.
no
Our
band.
duo name.
Whatever it is, it's called CADUS. It's CAYDUS.
Everybody
So.
should check that out. Also,
Thanks.
Eve has a podcast, or not a podcast, a Patreon.
Oh, I
People
was
should go
like,
there.
wow. Didn't know that I was going to do that.
Patreon.com/Eve was framed. Is that right?
/Eve_ was framed. So it's the same that I am everywhere else. It's just patreon.com. So.
And because of all of the creepy demand, Eve's Patreon will feature nudes, but they'll be my nudes.
Exactly.
I cleared
Anytime
that
you
joke
guys
with
put
her
in a request
before.
for that.
Yeah, it's always going to come back me.
Yeah, it'll be Jimmy. Honestly, I would love to do something like that because I get so many requests. Literally, my DMs are just like OnlyFans link ? And I should do something with that, not with myself, but I should send them elsewhere.
I very briefly had an OnlyFans, but it wasn't nude. I did and the reason I left was basically some friends of mine talked to me like, hey, it's sort of not dope to have non-sex workers on the last sex worker friendly platform. At that time there wasn't the other ones. But anyway, it was at Wholesome Dad, which I still have the account, because sometimes I have to do
Wholesome Dad.
I have to do research on the site sometimes. And it would literally just be like, it would be like a video, the camera's like walking up to me working on something, drilling something into the wall, and then it'd be like, hey kiddo, remember that time I judged you and said you looked like a slut because you were walking out the door in short shorts? I'm really insecure about my own blah, 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 and my history. And I'm sorry. That was messed up. And it's just literally like dads apologizing for being judgmental pieces of shit.
Amazing.
Yeah. Made some people cry on OnlyFans. That was a real comment that was
I
left.
bet.
Yeah.
Aww.
It was fun.
That is very wholesome.
Yeah, it was a fun little time.
That's hilarious.
It was a fun little time.
If you still had it, then I could send people that when they ask for my OnlyFans link. But
if I go back to OnlyFans, it won't be PG next time. But that'll mean that that would mean that a lot of types of working out and dieting that I don't think I'm capable of has been done. So we'll see. But anyway, we are doing this is Cause I Wanna. We are going to get to calls at some point. Lines are open 720-619-2288. There's a web link in the description if you want to call via web. But a reminder that this is the show where we don't really give a fuck what you think about it or us or what we're talking about or if you even want to be here. If you don't want to be here, go. It's fine. We're okay with it. We are secure with we're kind of here to hang out. We're kind of here to hang out and have fun. And for me to tell people I'm back for now, I will probably have to leave again. Probably about midsummer. I'll probably have to take some significant time off again. But things are going well, actually, physically and mentally. Probably better than I've been in a long time. I've got to work on some new mental stuff that has popped up that happens when you isolate in your home for like a fucking year. The more so than even the pandemic. And but other than that, among the things that, while part of why I might sound a little bit hoarse, one of the things that I didn't need to take time off for, but was part of during the time I'm off, is I began treatment for what turned out to be very severe sleep apnea. Again, this isn't why I took the time off. Before somebody's like, "What? He took off time to learn how to wear a mask?"
That's still a good reason. That's a very good reason. No sleep.
It turned out it was killing me, but I had no idea. And it turns out that it actually may also be responsible for why, for the last couple of years, progressively the symptoms of my other issues have gotten worse. But for people who don't know much about sleep apnea, for a lot of people who hear about it, I think can just think like, oh, somebody maybe sleeps bad or whatever. It turns out it's a really fucking terrible condition that untreated can kill you in like a few years. And so you get treated. Basically, what's happening if you have sleep apnea, there's two types. I'm going to talk about it because it's been on my mind. There's two types of sleep apnea. You have obstructive and you have central sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is where it can be angle. It's a combination of things, but at a certain point when you go to sleep, And I believe it's often the muscles that support your tongue. They'll relax while you're sleeping and they'll block your throat. And so your heart sends a signal to shoot a little bit of adrenaline to wake you up just slightly, but you are waking up, and to physically start breathing again. That's obstructive sleep apnea. You're literally closing and you're having to wake up literally multiple times per hour. And I'll get to that in a moment, but multiple times per hour to
That's
manually
awful
begin
already.
breathing. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Central sleep apnea is where your brain doesn't send the signal to breathe. So everybody thinks about, you can manually breathe or you can automatically breathe, and your brain for a moment stops automatically breathing. And then same thing, like as you begin to suffocate, as your oxygen begins to dip down, usually below that 90%, the adrenaline shoots because, oh, I'm in trouble, get a gasp of air. And so if you ever sleep next to somebody who has sleep apnea, it'll often sound first like snoring. And I've got some audio clips of me snoring that are fucking gnarly. But anyway, it'll start off as them snoring, and then it just, and then it'll be silence for a while. And then suddenly you'll hear something along those lines.
That is so terrifying.
As the person almost dies multiple times. Well,
fuck.
Here's the truth about your boy and what your boy found out and has been treating now for 8 days. And it's been life-changing to treat. So they measure that in events per hour. And I feel like I need to make sure that people heard that. Events per hour. Because I've noticed that when I tell people what mine was, their brain automatically goes, couldn't be that. He must have meant events per night. No. Events
Which would
per
still
hour.
be terrible.
Right.
This number.
So this number, there are lots per night. It actually wouldn't be, you wouldn't even really need treatment.
Really?
I don't think per night. Let me think. What would that be divided by 8? Well, you'd be on the low end of needing treatment. My events per hour, number of times that I stop breathing, my oxygen goes low enough that adrenaline shoots and makes me manually start breathing again, was 55 when we did the sleep study. Around once a minute while I'm asleep, I begin suffocating and I wake up. And your boy is a lucky boy because there's the two types of apnea, obstructive and central. I have both. I literally have stop breathing because my throat closes and stop breathing because my brain doesn't send the signal. I've been on an APAP machine. It's very similar to CPAP. It adapts. It helps you inhale and exhale basically by changing the pressure as you go and working up to higher pressures for when you're in deeper sleep. It's wonderful. Like tremendous. Life-changing. Physically, how I feel every day, completely different than for the last several years. And I started to notice differences by the second day. It was, and they say like, you're not even close to done. You're like, as far as more energy and stuff, it takes 3 to 6 weeks for you to really see like all the benefits. It is, just a wild, horrible thing.
You're going to be like a new person by the end of this. Yeah, well, you already, you're feeling better.
I enjoy exercising, which I had thought was just I mean, I've dealt with health issues my whole life. And so exercise has always been sort of a thing. And then depending on where I lived, another thing I have is asthma that can make it more or less enjoyable. But I, for the last few years, I think I had just forgotten that like at times when I was younger, even without cocaine, I enjoyed being more active. And I just was like, it's all a conspiracy. Everybody talks about enjoying exercising, but now I'm like, yeah, enjoying being active. And my good hours, there's still other, like I said, my other health stuff. So it's not all perfect and roses, but my good hours in a day right now are fucking incredible. Unfortunately, sometimes they show up on a delay, and this has fucked my brains getting into I already had problems with having a rhythmic sleep schedule. It's way worse now because my body's like, oh, you just did 8 hours of full sleep where before you were doing no hours of real sleep. So you don't need to go to sleep for another 27 hours or so.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like my peak hours on Thursday were probably like in the afternoon. I remember I was enjoying some experiments with some cameras and new gear that I have for these documentaries I want to film soon. And it was like, yeah, mid-afternoon. I was like, man, I can't remember feeling this good before. And then last night,
Aw.
it literally showed up at like 10 p.m. I was like,
Oof.
I'm gonna get on VR and I'm gonna do some physical competition, some sport, because you can fucking work up a sweat in certain VR games. Anyway,
Yeah.
my voice is this now, and it's been this way literally since the first night. I don't know if it heals. It doesn't hurt anymore. I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing thing, but this is where my
That's
register
interesting.
is most comfortable. Whereas I feel like I was a full octave higher in my, I can go up there, but this is where I'm physically most comfortable right now.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Someone says you're much louder than me. I don't mind that. But no. I don't think it's your fault. I think it's mine.
I talk quietly, so then we turn me up, and then that's another problem.
I don't actually understand how that's happening, though, because the let me just pull this up to like 65, and then y'all can figure it out from there. We'll just deal with it. Boom and boom and possibly boom, and we'll see how that works during the call portions. Yeah, I had no idea how much sleep I was missing. I just absolutely life-changing to be getting sleep, and I'm
so glad that you're getting that sorted.
It makes it feel worth pursuing the other health fixes too, where like, sometimes you're sitting back and you're like, why am I putting in all this fucking work? I fucking hate this shit. I hate living. There's a lot of it mentally, just where you go to bed every night and be like, fucking don't wake up. That's fine. That'd be fine. Yeah. And now I go to bed wanting to wake up in the morning. I'm like, I've been talking to Eve a lot about like these projects now that I want to actually start moving on the pre-production on for these documentaries I want to do.
Yes.
It's going to be
exciting.
Bananas. Yeah. Anyway, that was a long story for no reason. We're a half hour in. I haven't taken a call yet.
That was a good reason.
Yeah, maybe. How are you?
Do
you want to share a story?
I don't have any exciting stories. She
does, but some of them are secrets. I know some of them. Some of your stories are fucking amazing.
Secrets, yeah. I was nervous because the night before last, I had dinner planned at my parents, who are evangelical ministers, with all my sisters there, and a family friend who used to be one of my best friends was coming in from out of the country. And I hadn't seen, the last time I saw him, he was dropping me off at the airport in San Francisco. And I had just gotten a one-way ticket to Atlanta because I had realized I didn't believe in a God anymore. And I was quitting worship leading and quitting being a Christian and divorcing his friend and doing all the things. And I was like, hey, could you drop me off at the airport? Like, see you in a little bit. And then I just pieced out for good. So I was really like, how is that gonna go? And it was really good because he's still super Christian in ministry, all of that. But it went very well. So that was a nice positive moment.
Your ability to retain, to do what you do and retain relationships with people from your life like that is something that I'm pretty jealous of.
I don't know some of them I have not maintained on purpose. So, it's not like it's all great. Like 3 divorces.
Yeah. Well, sure.
I didn't make up for it.
I can't think of a single Mormon friend I grew up with who didn't cut me out of their life completely until some of them who left, then eventually would be like, hey man, sorry about whatever. But like still in the church, there are people who I would still want to chill with. And then my family was always Mormon before family, which I already gave you a preview of. I've been like all caps screaming about this week because there was a revelation of something happening in my family where I'm just like, this is the most hypocritical thing my family has ever done. When you have family who's like, family's the most important thing. And the fucking thing we had to recite growing up as a kid. What's the number one rule? The number one rule is loyalty. That was literally a thing we had to do in our family. Fucking bananas. And the breaking of, I'm not going to go into detail. It's kind of a heavier, more personal thing, I guess, for the family. And I just don't even know how I would begin. But
Yeah.
the way in which my family broke even the facade of loyalty this week just absolutely blew me away.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross. Yeah.
I mean,
And unfortunately, I think that's more common. I think I have kind of a rare situation. And so I'm very grateful. It comes with its own problems though, because then it's like this thing that is important to me that I still want to maintain. And that's difficult too. So it's, I don't know, family stuff after post-religion is just not
the best.
Not fun.
I will say while I feel like you're trying to say maybe you're lucky, I think some of it is you too, though. I think that there's enough people in your life who have stayed where it's like, I don't think it's just luck. You know what I mean? I think that there's something about you and your ability to be very perhaps diplomatic or empathetic to them. I don't know. I
just like people, I think. And so if I like a person, then I'm like, can we not let this other stuff get in the way? So, and the people that are willing to meet me at that point, then we stay friends. So works out.
Why don't we hit announcements and then get on to this shit? You know what I mean? Let's make this piece of shit. No, I don't think this show's a piece of shit. Why don't you real quick? I'm going to get a picture from our merch store because we've got a new thing. And then we're going to we'll do call.
Oh, did you get it up there?
Oh, yeah, I did. I'm so excited for this.
Yay.
I'm so excited to show people. But why don't you tell people what is on your Patreon? Unless you're like, not okay.
That's a great question. No, I totally will. So my Patreon, I've got 3 tiers on there right now, and it's really 2 that anybody would care about for extra content. I'm going to be posting probably a regular blog more than anything else, but I'm hoping to do longer format videos. Right now I have a blog up there, just going into depth about how Eve Was Framed got started as far as my social media accounts and a little backstory there. And then I also have a chat room, which is really fun. And we've already been in there talking and hanging out.
Hell yeah.
So once I hit 50 paid members, we're going to do a Zoom hangout all together. So get in there before that.
Patreon.com, Eve_was_framed. All right, people. So look, here's the thing. We're going to make this quick, but I'm going to e-bag a little bit. I got to do it. YouTube is hitting like all of our videos. I've started collecting screenshots. I don't see all of them because I have them Arden getting, but I've been getting them, and it is affecting things, and it is really annoying. So we're trying to basically do, as you've probably already seen, make being on Patreon more worth it. So far, it's been crazy fun. There's a new Patreon podcast. That's the main central thing. It's a podcast that I host where I, out of the blue, call somebody who works here at the line, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Here's some questions here. Eve has done it. Tremendously fun. It was so good.
It was super fun. You guys should go listen to it.
If you are the type of person who has the disposable income, first of all, we're not asking anybody to not eat because of this, and you like to financially support, keep in mind, even when you go there and you're like, you guys have over, I think we're over 600 or are we at 700 now? Paid supporters. Remember that there's like 15 of us here, and 5 of us rely on this place to pay for our health insurance. For me, I like my whole life. I can't live without this place. So consider, please, patreon.com/calltheline. It would just be tremendous if you feel like supporting. I really want to be able to break free of having to worry about YouTube, as well as, we always try to like pay it back in a way where it's like, all right, well, because Patreon's doing so well, we'll reduce the number of ads and things and shit like that. We're at 722 paid members. Once we hit 1,000 members, we are going to start doing, Matt and I are going to start reviewing shitty Christian movies at least once a month. And we'll probably invite other people along. When we hit 2,000, we're going to do, and I love this thing the most, and I'm so excited. I wish we could get to 2,000 overnight. I doubt we will. And I think Forrest hopes we don't because he wants his RPG series to come out first. But we're going to start a Dungeons and Dragons campaign with people from the line and other creators connected to the line when we hit 2,000. And we're going to broadcast that out on YouTube. But that's not coming until after 2,000 members.
Do I get to play?
Hell yeah. Yeah.
I've never played before, ever.
It's the best. Now, here's the twist. What I've heard. One, I'm going to be the dungeon master and think about that. That's
Okay.
awesome. But second, there's more people at home who have played it. That has no reference. It has
To me,
nothing
I'm
to do.
like, that's scary sounding, but keep going.
I'll be the dungeon master.
Okay.
And two, one of the things that we're going to do is every atheist is going to have to choose a god from D&D lore, and it won't just be like, all right, this is the god I serve. It's literally going to be things like somebody will I'm going to make all of the gods dicks, like capricious, basically, like jealous god. I'm going to make all of them a little Elohim. I'm going to make them all a little Christian god. It'll be like, oh, you're doing such and such, and for healing, somebody gives you a potion of healing, and you drink it, and you are recovered. And they're like, and what do you do next? And you're like, oh, I thank the person. Great. What do you do next? I go on my way. You get a -2 buff because you forgot to thank your God for healing you.
My religious trauma is going to make me so good at that.
You're going to know what to anticipate. You're going to have to be in constant, like, not just doing things to get bonuses because the God, like, you did something that the God favors. If you just ignore your God, I'm going to fucking wreck your world. It's going to be hilarious.
There will be no ignoring my God. The reason I am a recovered people pleaser is because of God. So it'll be great.
Hell yeah. So I want that to begin. Patreon.com/calltheline. We've got the 2 goals to add additional stuff, but we're already doing way more over there. And then I'm doing my own stuff, patreon.com/Jimmy Snow. I've got my own podcast coming out. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. It'll be lots of current events, talks
exciting.
of the day. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope you do that with me too, by the way. Like,
please.
There's so many people, but I have my core group of people. And it's basically Eve, Sarah, Dominic. I'm trying to think. I know I'm missing somebody who on the Jimmy Snow channel, you're definitely going to hear from as often as they want to be there, because I love talking about news of the day and stuff that frustrates me with these people.
I want a shirt that says one of Jimmy Snow's core people.
Core people? There you go.
Yeah.
This is the core crew. I feel like we'll come up with a better phrase than that. Anyway, so all that stuff's going on. And then the last announcement before we jump in here, because we keep getting demonetized. Last night, I had a bit of inspiration during those good hours I was talking about.
Brilliant.
Well, some people think it isn't brilliant. I've discovered that some people, cynics, assholes. No, but some people feel that because the term has multiple. All right, not everybody gets it, I guess, is what I'm getting at here.
I got it immediately. You should put it up and like not explain it. And okay.
Right. And see what people say. I'm actually going to grab another image of it. Basically, if you go to the merch store now, linemerch.com, because we keep getting our monetization limited by YouTube, I came up with what I think is a cheeky new little design for merch that is the most fun way to support, but also I feel like has a double meaning. But then there are people who are like, yeah, but the first meaning isn't what you think it is. And those people are dicks. Anyway, here's the new merch, and you're only allowed to buy it if you get it. What if I made that the rule? You can only buy it if you understand the joke. Here, I'll zoom in more.
I love it.
So if people can see it a little bit better here. Could rotate it some.
Nobody's gonna get it like that.
This is the new. I just want to see if the live chat blows up and people suddenly are like, oh my God, I get it and I love it.
Right.
Do you understand why some people might not only, okay, there's some people who don't get it. And then when you're like,
if they're not as clever and funny as you and I guess.
Yeah. So the thing is that not everybody believes that thank you. Okay. People are getting it. They're loving it. Go to linemerch.com and buy it. Good. But there are people who say that is not the demon emoji, that is the devil emoji.
Okay. So my boyfriend said that too, because I was like, do you get it? And I showed it to him and he said devil. But also his first language is not English.
Yeah.
But he did get it really quickly after that. I said, no, not a devil, and then he got it.
And to me, I'm like, Satan is the king of the demons. You can make an argument he is a demon, but also most of the imagery that people associate with monster Satan is actually demon imagery that has been put onto Satan, because Satan's just supposed to be a hot guy or a snake. Like that's his two things. So
hot guy or snake makes sense.
Not everybody gets the demon angle. Anyway, I like it because you could say you're part of the demonetized crew, or that you have been demonetized. I like that too. As an atheist, I've been demonetized. It works. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as you read the other part, then it's like, oh, he means for that to be a demon, not a devil. So it makes sense.
I'll tell you what, though, I workshopped whether we needed that dash or not.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I saw the dash. I don't think I got the dash in my my proof copy of that.
I added the dash. In the end, I discovered it increased the rate of people getting it. Here's the holographic sticker. No, that's not right. Here's the holographic sticker also. Now look, it's staying up. After I put it up, did I realize that there's a certain shape to this thing?
Oh my God.
That it has a bit of a let me take down the zoom.
Oh no.
Do I see it? I don't see shit. I don't know what y'all are talking. Oh, it hit me in the face. Oh, stop. Oh, it keeps hitting me. Anyway,
man.
Is there a bit of a shape? Yeah, there's a bit of a shape. I don't know what y'all are talking about. It's not anything. The sticker has, if you turn the sticker over, would you be sure you knew what the sticker was?
It's got so many meanings going on. It's great.
So this is our cool stuff. Go buy some demonetized gear, and I need to make a giant sign in that shape, and go get a sign
go spin
spinner.
It.
Yeah. Get somebody to do that at a convention or something where we're selling.
That's really good.
I don't know. Anyway, call us if you have something you want to debate us about, argue about. If you're a theist, if you're voting for Trump, anybody want to call in and defend voting for Trump? I could get down on a Trump vote.
Christ.
Yeah, fucking. Anybody want to call in and think that they're a better leftist than me because I'm still going to vote for Biden, even though Biden has participated in funding the genocide in Israel, and yet we'll still vote for him. If anybody wants to have that conversation,
I feel like we got into that a little bit last time we did it because I wanted to. Maybe not. Maybe that was that us or was that me and Matt? I don't know.
I don't know that Matt still has figured out where he falls on that whole
thing. I think it was Matt, and I think that is what we did talk about that.
Okay.
We talked about voting for Biden, and that somebody called in asking how do we get people to vote for Biden, basically. That was the question.
And a lot of people, especially leftists, who I understand, I'm also a leftist because I don't believe in half measures. And yet, a half measure when that is the only option. We can't literally start eating the rich yet or feeding them to the animals that we do eat. We can't jump to that yet. It's still the thing you have to do. All right, let's go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you.
Let's talk to Zach. Zach in Florida, you're on the line with Jimmy and Eve. How you doing?
Hey, Zach.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear my name.
It's all good.
How are you guys doing?
Peachy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So I guess I had just a quick question. I didn't want to take up too much time because I didn't really have a topic to debate about. But, or maybe this will turn into a debate. I can bring up politics too. But, so I was listening to a show, like yesterday, and this question immediately jumped to my mind. And it was like with Matt and some other person, but this, guy called in saying that like his son was like possessed by a demon, and like him, his wife, and like his other kid saw their son that was possessed get lifted up and like thrown across the room like 6 feet. And my question was, would you guys ever accept eyewitness testimony as evidence?
In isolation,
For
no.
yeah,
I would take
definitely not.
I would take an anecdote as the beginning stage of we should investigate this, especially if I would participate in the investigation if it stood within reason or came from somebody that I felt would be unlikely to lie. However, the sort of wink, wink, we're going to lie about this together, or two people who tell a story that progressively together get more and more incredible and supernatural. And by the time that they're both telling something completely devoid from what actually happened in the first place, neither of them realize it and might even genuinely believe the new version of the memory. That is still so much more likely of an explanation than something truly supernatural, that I don't feel compelled by it, especially when these types of things are a dime a dozen. And when I myself was religious, participated in the, we'll call it practice.
Okay. So, like, it was mentioned that 3 people saw it, but then what if, like, 1 million people saw it?
Sure. By
And
the
all
way,
But
witnessed it?
there's also a difference between one person saying, "Hey, 1 million people saw this," and then like 1 million different people coming forward and saying they saw something.
1 million people coming forward and saying the same thing.
right. I also would still want to investigate and question why, if that was true, there wasn't documented. Here's the thing you're asking, Zach, especially now, modern day phone cameras. If 1 million people, especially 1 million people with a common interest, but we'll just go with 1 million people, all say they witnessed something and not one person whipped out a phone, I would worry more about why they are all lying together than I would worry that what they're saying is true.
Fair point. Or
Do you
I guess it's like,
do you have an example of something incredible? By the way, I'm trying to find what the number was. This comes up all the time from the miracle of Fatima, where in 1917, a time where after cameras existed and photographers were present, thousands, tens of thousands, I believe it was, and I think the number is something like 70,000, but I don't remember what the exact number is. Let me see if I can quickly find it. Thousands of people claimed, ranging from 30 to 100,000, with the figure usually given to be around 70,000, claimed to have witnessed the sun fall out of the sky as promised by Mary to some kids, 3 shepherd kids from a prophecy. They claim they saw it happen. They were there for the miracle. When presented with that, mostly people like to present that to an atheist with just that amount of information, Zach. And they like to say, what about the miracle of Fatima, where over 70,000 people all said they saw the sun fall out of the sky? Should I sit there and go, that many people, wow, maybe I should believe this? Or should my first thing be to go, let me investigate this as far as I can, independent from this person's claim? And it doesn't take much of that, doesn't take much time to find out that, one, many photographers were on hand that day because the miracle was promised. Guess how many people caught it on camera? The miracle of Fatima. Do you want to guess, Zach?
0?
Yeah, it was 0. Then in the crowds of people was much more than the 70,000. It was many hundreds of thousands, with thousands of people saying they saw nothing. Thousands of people saying, I saw it in a sort of mind's eye. I experienced the miracle, but I don't think it physically happened in reality. And then the 70,000 who say they saw it and whose explanation is sort of similar to the mind's eye. The fact that so many people around didn't, that it was only shown to people of true faith. So you hear these explanations. So anyway, Zach, that's just to get started. Do you have an example of something that 1 million eyewitnesses, because I just gave you a 70,000 mark, 1 million eyewitnesses saw and
No,
were
I don't.
denied?
But I guess,
okay. What's the
I
best you
guess
got?
well, I was just gonna kind of leave it at that. But I guess, like, okay, how about if there was like 70,000 people there and like people that had your same beliefs and like were skeptics, also attested to what they saw and what those other people saw.
Well, first of
Then
all,
would you
I don't
believe
know
in
of
that?
70,000 people who exist right now that I respect as skeptics. I know
Right.
Okay,
20. So
fair.
I think what you're trying to ask is, let's say Eve, Matt Dillahunty, Seth Andrews, Shannon Q,
And Forrest.
Paulogia, Forrest Valkai, Erika from Guts at Gibbon, they're all down in the Philippines and they see the sun fall out of the sky. Yes, I would want to investigate. And first, I would want to have them all tested for the same.
Also, wouldn't you think we were pranking
hallucinogens
you?
Yeah, my first instinct would be prank. But if you all were
Yeah.
not calling me, but making videos about it, and it wasn't April 1st. But Zach, again, why focus on hypotheticals? Unless you have an example, I don't need you to go to 70,000. If you got 10 skeptics I respected to all attest to something that sounds impossible, yes, I would feel more inclined to investigate, but not to just believe them.
Right.
But you
All right.
don't have an example of that either, do you?
No.
Right.
I
So
was just curious, what would it take? I guess, yeah, that's a hypothetical question, and it's kind of meaningless. But
what would it take for me to believe without good enough evidence for myself, but to just trust other people? That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
That
I
doesn't
guess.
exist. Nothing.
Okay,
Nothing.
yeah.
Now,
All right.
talking
Well-
about other things like consensus among scientists, that's something completely different, and also something that I don't box myself into a place where I have to defend something even after it's wrong. When I investigate claims that have gone from hypothesis to theory in science, looking at the consensus and making sure that, at least to my eye, I understand not everybody's going to be able to do this. Not everybody has any, I have a small amount of scientific background, but assessing that people are still, they're still following the scientific method, good science is happening, and will still say, I will still say in that scenario, I accept the consensus, but if it's proven wrong tomorrow, I will accept the correction. That stuff's not
All
tough
right.
for me.
Yeah. All right. And then, so that answers that question. But then I heard, prior to you accepting my call, if I was going to vote for or call in to you're going to vote for Donald Trump.
Are you going to vote for Donald Trump? I'm not voting for Trump.
Well,
Uh-oh.
honestly, I'm a Republican, but I'm not a mega Trump supporter.
Zach, why are you a Republican? Let's start there.
Oh boy, I knew this was going to happen. All right.
Well, if you brought it up, of course it happened.
It's a
I
good
know.
question.
That's not quite a
Do you-
prophecy, is it?
I guess.
Are you not content with your own answer to that? Because it sounded so hesitant, like you don't even necessarily want, there's part of you that sounds like you're embarrassed to say you're a Republican, and I'm also interested to
I'm
hear
not
why there was a hesitancy. Okay, cool.
No, I'm not. I'm not embarrassed to be a Republican, but
We'll try to get you there.
I know, but I just haven't kept up with politics in the past year because of it causes so much stress in my life.
Great. Don't you dare fucking vote, Zach. If you're not,
I'm in
if you're going to
Florida.
catch up between now and the election, then maybe whatever. But if you think right now between everything, it's acceptable to vote on I'm not keeping track of politics when people are losing rights, when genocides are happening, then don't vote. Fucking stay the fuck home, please.
Well, I guess my biggest concern is just Border issues,
Okay.
and I feel the
So
Democratic Party has really.
Donald
Oh,
Trump
what?
literally is responsible for stopping the border bill that was made by a Democrat, an extreme conservative who should be your guy, who was out there talking about it, and an independent. And they literally were like, hey, we've got this. This will help us close the border. It'll help us increase legal immigration, which I assume, Zach, you're smart enough to know that legal immigration is wonderful for this country.
Oh yeah, of
Okay,
course.
great.
I'm not a xenophobe.
Great. So they put up a bill that actually tilted right because they wanted to make sure that they could get it. And Donald Trump, and by the way, the people around Donald Trump have admitted this. He's all but admitted it in his rallies, sank it so that Biden couldn't run on a success. that they wanted the border to become more chaotic, more of a problem, so that they could do what they did every fucking election for the last several, except for in 2022, where they tried to focus slightly more on trans people than brown people. But everyone prior, it was mostly brown. Remember those caravans? Where'd the caravans go, Zach? Those caravans that were coming for us, they didn't pass any policy to stop the caravans. And yet, as soon as the election was over, stopped hearing about the caravans. Wonder where the caravans are, Zach. Anyway, they literally put up a bill that I don't like. For the record, I am a socialist.
Who put up? Which party put up the bill?
It's a bipartisan bill. The bill was crafted by one Democrat, one independent, Kirsten Sinema, who is definitely, you can't say is a left-leaning. She literally had to become independent because she started just rejecting the left, the American left, and that Republican guy with the funny haircut. The three, and uber right. And the bill is considered more right-leaning because they acknowledge that there is problems happening at the border that they must address quickly, and they have to pass. They don't have the House. They have to do something that can actually pass. And literally the only reason that Mike Johnson has not brought it to the floor was because Donald Trump said don't do it, even though all of these Republicans were singing the bill's praises until the bill came up and Donald Trump said and started lying about worst bill I've ever seen, which he started saying before the text of the bill was out, that it was a terrible deal, had terrible things. No one knew what was in the bill, and he was already saying it because he knew it was a bipartisan bill coming that would be potentially a victory for Biden. So if your problem is the border and you're going to choose to vote for Trump, the guy who did not put a stop to a good bipartisan bill for them, not good to me. I don't believe in the shit they were doing, but a bipartisan bill for them that was right-leaning. And Donald Trump, when talking about the border, only talks about how when day one comes, that'll be the day he's a dictator when it comes to the border. I don't know why you're a Republican and why you would vote for Trump.
Yeah. Well, I guess I just based that opinion off of prior data on border crossings during Trump's administration and then Biden's, to be honest.
The border crossing data, first of all, went down because of the pandemic, but also I believe the stats are that Biden has deported more and that even Obama deported more than Donald Trump did.
Yeah, if you're assuming you're telling the truth, I'm not going to refute that. So
you need to go find out.
Numbers.
You need to go find out.
Yeah,
but also, you live in Florida. You are just absorbing what you're hearing around you from a place that is socially so fucked up and backwards. And it's literally a bunch of people who are going to vote Republican, though I'm hoping that women are going to destroy that old person Republican vote that Florida could have counted on. But now Florida decided to pass one of the most restrictive abortion bills there are. And I'm hoping that's the reason that Florida is lost. But you're going to sit there and you're going to vote for on this one issue that, Zach, I really doubt affects you very much at all. If you'd like to,
what do you mean by affects me?
Tell me how it affects you. Tell me how the poor way immigration has happened so far has affected specifically your life. Because if you want to talk about crime stats, you're going to lose that one. Because immigrants, even undocumented, are still way less likely to commit crimes than citizens in America because they don't want to get deported. So go ahead if you want to give the how it specifically affects you.
Well, directly.
Correct. Directly. Yes. And direct can mean your family, your friends. Somehow it's in any way affecting your life.
I don't think it does.
Great. So can you acknowledge that the countries that most of these people are coming from, they suck? Right? They are hellish countries, some of them with gang-ran governments, and that they are violent places, and that most of the people coming are just trying to flee fear of violence and poverty, right?
Well, I guess I don't know the exact definition of like a refugee persecution.
I didn't ask you that. All I asked is, are the people who are trying to come here, in their mind, whether or not you accept that they're a refugee, do you believe that they are trying to flee violence and poverty?
Yeah, probably.
Great. So
I'm not going to say that for everybody, though. Like,
I understand.
I don't know everybody's intention.
I understand. With those two things in mind, they're way less likely to commit crime. By the way, they do end up paying taxes, and they stimulate economies, and they are just trying to survive and go through hell, way more hell than you've ever gone through, to be an American citizen in the hopes they can one day be an American citizen. They go through hell to do that. You want to reduce that more dramatically because of some numbers that you think indicate one way or the other.
Well, and then another point is like I know someone that like tried to get legal or tried to come over legally, and it took them like 3 years, 4 years, and then
and that's nonsense.
One, it's not guaranteed, but then you can just come across the border and get in. It's okay.
So no, you can't just come across the border and get in and it's okay. 3 to 4 years is actually faster than usual. The current process is way too slow we want people. Our economy literally needs it. We need more than we're getting now. But there is clearly a privileged, and I'll just fucking say it, racist administration of who gets to be a citizen faster. My mother was an illegal citizen, an illegal occupant of this country, we'll call it, for I don't even remember how long, just a long time. But because she was white and British and married and had kids, never bothered about it. She only became a citizen a few years ago, and there was no penalty for the fact that she was living here illegally for quite a while, because she shares my complexion. What a blessing for her. I've not yet met a Republican. I'm not saying there isn't concerns about the border. Clearly there is. Clearly we have to worry about things like drugs, though drugs are coming a lot from not the border, but in the sky, which is another crazy thing. Like people in Florida who are like, yeah, we got to protect the border. We got to protect the border.
Yeah, it's being dropped in the swamps.
Your immigrants aren't coming from the border.
Where the drugs are.
People are flying in, people are boating in. The concept of it's just the wildest shit. So, and to be a one issue voter when that's the one issue of
I was gonna say
millions,
and it's
of
not
people.
even an issue. You said it's not even an issue that affects you directly. So it looks like you've been used to help somebody else with their agenda and not even vote for your own best interests.
But also, I heard the argument that with people coming in across the border or wherever illegally, that it can affect census data of allocations of government funds and change
what if it
the population to where states get more votes in the electoral college.
So your concern is, if that's true, and by the way, it isn't. There are local things that happen, but as far as the national census goes, this idea that they're getting any voting power or indirect voting power is mostly bullshit, because for the most part, people who aren't here legally don't answer censuses anyway, and there are things that account for it. But let's just say it did. What you're saying is you believe that there should be people in this country. Would it be a problem if a large number of the people in this country, if what they need advocated for could just be ignored, that a person who is here illegally doesn't deserve advocacy of any kind, doesn't deserve, is the same, Republicans also think they don't deserve school or healthcare or anything, these things that are human rights, that you want anybody who is here undocumented to not have the potential of advocacy? Why is that a positive?
All right. So the potential for advocacy for unrepresented people who are illegal?
Undocumented people.
What's wrong with it? Or why wouldn't we want that?
It's, again, not actually the issue you think it is. And I think it should be. I actually think not necessarily electoral college stuff, though probably. I mean, get rid of the electoral college. Undocumented people can't vote in federal elections. The census affects some things, but again, undocumented people don't usually report on the census. And I know there's actually a shit ton more. This is one of those things that Fox News likes to repeat. That's been debunked a bunch. And usually you just get idiots who just say the headline, like Elon Musk going, well, you know, they're coming here and they're voting. And then somebody goes, no, they're fucking not, you idiot. Here's all the proof. And then he goes and he consults with his right-wing podcaster buddies with, how can I not admit I was wrong? Oh, what if you went out there and you just say, first of all, Ben has the hottest sister and the census is going to fuck everybody. You can all guess who that is. It's not, but again, I'm totally fine with there being advocacy for people on the basis of where they live.
Whether illegal or legal?
Correct. Undocumented or not, the concept of calling a person illegal is antiquated. I'm surprised you still use. No, I'm not. You're a Republican. But an undocumented person still deserves human rights. And when we're talking about directing policy, we're not talking about, oh, what if they're going to pass a law that says you have to give $10 to every guy who's out asking for work at Home Depot? None of that. It's that. It's like, hey, can we allocate funds to make sure nobody dies? Except we're not that good at even that end. But that's supposed to be what we're doing.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if you are undocumented, you deserve human rights. You deserve healthcare, education, and frankly, the fact that they are undocumented is more of a condemnation of terrible American policy on immigration than a condemnation of these people who were like, I just wanted my kids to not fucking starve. Yes, that mother, those children should have public policy that takes care of them too. And we can afford it.
Let me kind of break this down, and I might be wrong. So,
go for it.
If the one thing that I struggle with is to see dollars allocated to undocumented people when we have people who are legal in the country struggling and not being fed, being hungry, lack of education and healthcare.
Everything you just said is either a lie from you or whoever you were listening to. Who in this country who is here as a citizen goes hungry?
I'm not saying
people who are afraid of interacting with the system because the system usually fucks them. So when you're talking about this, this idea of oh, people here are going hungry, or they're going, yeah, we have a homelessness problem. We should fucking solve that. We have a hunger problem. Largely because the government fucking sucks and people don't trust that system. But for those who do, if you're a white person, you probably don't go hungry because you can take advantage of food stamps and other things that are in place that, by the way, the Republicans, your side, don't like. You're literally sitting here going, why should basic human rights, because we haven't gotten past that, literally healthcare, education, we'll throw food, shelter on top of those things. We should deny basic human rights to people who are undocumented because people who I believe are here legally or are citizens because they happen to have been lucky enough that their dad jizzed in their mom on the right dirt. Those people might not be getting some entitlement program that I think they should be getting. You should not advocate for only one versus the other. Both. Do fucking both. Pass universal health care regardless of if you are documented or not. If you are in this country and something happens to you, we don't let you die or become bankrupt because you got sick. I don't care if you're visiting. I don't care if you dug a hole from Honduras all the way to here and broke in and your entire intention is to break into people's houses and steal their stuff. I don't care if they're a criminal or an evil person. Everybody gets health care. Everybody gets food. They go to prison, obviously. Everybody gets their basic human rights met. And it's fucking crazy to me that you would go, let's not give them the basics because I think there are people in this country who aren't getting more than the basics. Give them both the basics and then go beyond because we can fucking afford it.
Can we though? Afford
Yes,
it?
of course. We just have to take back our money from rich people because it isn't actually theirs. Fucking Christ. Of course we can. And by the way, don't you worry. When we do that, they'll still be rich. Asking people when there is a total amount of money that is for everybody, that you don't get to hoard as an individual a double-digit percentage, or frankly above 1%, and much lower, to say you don't get to do that because in this country, money is security, money is healthcare, money is having your basic human rights met. You don't get to hog that, especially on the back of workers. There is plenty of money and plenty of resources to take care of every single fucking person. Oh my God. We throw away enough food in this country to feed the world. This place fucking sucks.
That I agree with. But like universal health care and education might be feasible if you tax the 1%, but I don't know.
It's not just the 1%. Everybody would pay in for sure. Anybody who's making over the people we're talking about, nobody who's making above, 50,000 should pay. No, everybody's taxes except for the poor should go up, and you should contribute to it. Everybody should. And all of your basic human rights, including shelter, should be guaranteed like other countries do. If you don't have the money to live in a home, you will still get to live in a home. All of that can be done, except it won't be done because rich people right now are very interested in maintaining capitalism, and maintaining capitalism, it only feels good to have money if there are poor people, basically.
Wait, but when you're talking about rich people, though, you're not like just saying Republicans, right? Like you acknowledge that there's like Democrats
Zach, I'm not a Democrat.
Oh.
What the fuck?
Oh, you said you're a leftist, right?
Correct. Democrats are not leftists. Democrats are right wing on the actual world scale.
Yep.
If you are a capitalist, you are on the right. If you are not if you are a socialist or a communist, you are on the left.
You're not are you a communist?
You could argue that.
Oh, okay.
Socialism is a subset of communism. It's not a distincting. I'm a type of communist for sure, but I would just go with the term socialist, and I go with a small L libertarian socialist.
I'd be a communist too if I was like in the middle of the woods with like 50 of my family members and we all had to survive. But then when you apply it to like 400 million people, I don't know if that would work.
No, I think we should apply it to 8 billion people. We literally have, it's so fucking funny the way Republicans advocate for all this stuff. Let's put more laws on human rights and taking care of people, but less laws on corporations and the way they can fuck people over. Once we've done all of that, and we literally take every person's job away, which is a problem when it's brown, but it's not a problem when it's automation. It's not a problem when it's AI. It's not a problem when it's innovation. But if it's a brown person, don't you paint those servers brown because we won't know what the fuck to do. That's not a problem. This is capitalism literally is going to fail this century because it cannot sustain that. America can't sustain just in the next decade losing that truckers will be put out of work. Capitalism is coming to an end, and yet Republicans are just sitting here going, we gotta stop the basic human rights, we gotta shut down the border, fuck those people, we got ours, fuck them, you can't force me to care about them, not realizing that we fucking need them, and we are all in the same car together, driving toward a fucking wall, because that's the direction the rich people sent us, and they're sitting back in a mansion watching and just fucking loving it.
But you said truckers are going to be out of work
Correct.
soon, right?
In the next decade, possibly two. Definitely.
Okay.
Why would somebody pay for a trucker if a truck can be driven by a robot for way cheaper?
So, okay, yeah. But, okay, so if jobs are soon going to get automated, why
your
would
job
we need
will get
more
automated.
People?
Zach, what do you do for a living? Can you just give me the category? You don't have to be specific.
I'm trying to think. Like, I'll just say advertising, and then I work for like a logistics company.
Logistics and advertising. Not only is your job going to be automated, it's already begun, and soon they won't need you to run the AI systems for them. AGI,
it's a little bit more specified than that.
Sure, and we could talk about it.
Broad.
My job's going to leave, and I'm a personality, okay? This is what I mean. There is nothing is safe from AI, and there's definitely lots of people, even who aren't on your side and who are more on my side right now, who are watching right now going, no, but mine's, nope, nothing is safe. Nothing is safe from AI, and it won't even take how long it would be if somehow you could run it in a computer where anybody whose job was left off, you just throw them out of the sample and then see if the next everybody's would be taken. But long before everyone's is taken, 20% of people's will be taken and the economy fails.
But so why would we need more people though
because we're not there yet.
Okay, so if people are going to lose their jobs to AI,
yep,
and they're going to be struggling with whatever they need, why then would we need more people to struggle along with them?
Because we're not there yet. I just said that. AI doesn't exist right now. And look at the fucking infrastructure of the country. They passed a huge infrastructure bill, and look how long it's taking for anything to get fixed. Right now, we have a shortage of labor. We literally need to be replacing and advancing our labor force. You can but it's not me, by the way, who is the one advocating for that type of immigration or saying that is necessary. It's right-wing people who are literally like, I'm out of laborers. And immigration is our highest source of laborers right now.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is so what was the time frame you gave for 20% of the people to be out of a job?
Oh, I don't know what 20% will be, but I do think that truck driving, which is right now the #1 job for uneducated white men, high school diploma only white men, which is a significant part of our economy. I think that they are, I probably 5 years ago would have thought it was by now. So I'm trying to say conservatively and ironically that it's 10 to 20 years away, but I probably internally think it's sooner.
And I guess I'll say this, like, I'd be stupid to say that the Republican Party is like the best thing out there, because I know like they have their flaws, and I know like
the Democratic
Party has flaws too.
I'm not a Democrat. I know, but
no, I know you're not. I know you're not.
But there is a lesser of two evils. It's not that the Republican Party has flaws. It's that they are flaws. The Republican Party is literally trying to conserve the old way while removing regulation so that we can advance into the new way ran by rich people. They want to maintain what has been always the case. If you're born rich, you'll die rich. If you're born poor, you'll die poor. And there are very few people who will break from that. We'll highlight the people who break from that. I'm not rich, but I was born poor. And so I broke from being poor. In a way, it affects you for the rest of your life. But they will highlight those people as the C, and you can be that too. So don't let us pass these laws that will force us to pay our fair share, because this guy, when you're that guy in the future, you're going to want to keep all that extra money. The Republican Party is nothing but flaws, and they are antiquated while, again, driving the removal of regulation that's going to force us into a future way quicker than we can afford to get there.
So there's no policies that you think are good that the Republican Party are trying to promote?
I am a leftist.
Oh,
I don't.
Yeah.
What policy would you like to propose that a Republican I'm a small L libertarian. Republicans should be also small L libertarian, but they're not. They are big government Republicans by a lot. So I agree with what would be a right-wing position when it comes to personal choice. I think for the most part, you should be allowed to do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else. I would legalize a lot of drugs. There'd probably still be some regulations around them, but I definitely wouldn't be putting people in prison for addiction, for example. And I would be focusing on dramatic increases to social programs.
Well, okay, so you'd legalize a lot of drugs. Are we talking about like marijuana and like mushrooms? Or
just keep in mind, wait, Zach. Let's say I meant cocaine and meth. Let's just pretend that that's what I mean. I don't know if I would legalize those specific drugs. I wouldn't criminalize them. I would potentially still regulate. But if a person, first of all, cocaine is legal if you're rich. I know, because I know a lot of rich people, they're all doing cocaine. most things are legal if you're rich. So you're talking about just regulating the lives of, again, the middle class and the poor, which the Republicans pretend they give a fuck about. But let's pretend that maybe I do think legalize meth, legalize cocaine. Is it a problem or is it not that Republicans are the reason marijuana and mushrooms, as you brought up, are still illegal? In a lot of places. I know not everywhere. Yeah. Yes. So even if I don't, whatever side I'm on, the Republicans are on the wrong side for sure. Now we can talk about what the right side would be. Correct, not right.
Were you asking me a question?
Well, you answered it, that the Republicans are on the wrong side of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know if you're going to continue or not. But okay, but
we do have more calls to jump to, so let's get quickly to wrapping this. Yeah.
Well, you'd implement more social services, but legalize drugs. I don't know if those you get more people hooked on addictive drugs, and then you want more social services.
Excuse me, I never advocated for hooking more people on addictive drugs, and nothing has been more effective at hooking more people on addictive drugs than the pharmaceutical industry and the lack of regulation and oversight for them. But when you meet a person's basic needs, because on top of everything else, I also would advocate for more significant than Andrew Yang, universal basic income. Because if we don't do it, everyone is fucked when the economy blows. Universal basic income, when you actually meet people's needs, their tendency to follow toxic addiction, to become alcoholics and stuff, decreases greatly. Now, it will always be a problem. The thing I wouldn't fucking do, which is fucking bananas to me that we do now, is go, oh, you're addicted to a drug? You know what would help with that? Prison, where we will treat you like a slave. We will get slave labor out of you, and you will leave here still an addict, but with new skills on how to get your fixes. Because prison, our current way of taking care of it, is not a rehabilitation program. And everything that we're talking about that's different, the Republicans advocate for the things that for the opposite of the things you're agreeing with me on being a problem. Last thing, and then we got to move on.
Oh, but like I said, I'm not saying that the Republican Party's perfect. Like, I will admit that
they're not
things wrong with
good. I'm saying they're not good.
Yeah.
What's a good thing from the Republican Party? Give it to me.
A good thing from the Republican Party?
Yeah. Kristi Noem killing her dog? No, go on.
I don't know, man.
I know, because it's so hard to come up with one.
I gave you all the things, whatever, and then you had good responses to all of them, so I'll definitely look into it for sure.
Good enough.
But
please look into it and then go vote.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still on here? Oh, hey.
I'm still here. I know, it's hard to believe. I was letting you guys have your conversation.
And one last thing, like, I don't have any social media, but I jumped into the comments and someone says I'm a troll. And I'm like, whatever. But
I have no
idea. I hope
idea.
I don't come off as a troll.
Welcome to the internet.
But, I know.
What's happening.
There's a thing, and I don't mean this as an insult, but there's a thing called, what is the fucking, not Murphy's Law. What's the Poe's Law, where a person will seem clueless but confident on an issue. Confident in where they are, but clueless on the details, where people will start to then argue about whether or not this person is a troll or genuinely that way. I will say, Zach, you don't flag as a troll to me, especially
thanks.
calling from
and
Florida.
This is our third conversation, Zach, so I can attest to that as well. We've had great conversations, and I appreciate that you're actually willing to change your mind about things and look into things when you're presented with new information. I just don't think that you have enough information to have some of these really strong, well, I don't know how strong they are because you seem to be changing your mind, but you've called in each time with like, well, I'm a Republican and this is how I vote, things like that. And it sounds like you just haven't even seen what information is out there. I think that's the biggest thing missing from all of the conversations I've had with you. So I love that you are actively now looking for that information.
Well, I agree. If anything, you don't come off as a troll. You come off as like someone we're paying to make us look good.
Oh, okay.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah. But
what were you going to say, Zach?
Oh, yeah, just last thing, and I'll let you guys go. Yeah. Or you can let me go. It's your guys' show. But
I appreciate that.
I guess like the reason why I like when Jimmy brought up, oh well, that's been debunked. That's not true. I'll take that you're truthful about it. So that's why I'm not going to argue if I don't have like actual studies data, but.
And that's fair. And you should go look these things up. And then if you find out that Jimmy was a liar, then I'm sure he'll want to hear that claim. And then you guys can talk again.
But Zach, actually, let me turn your initial question on you. I made a lot of claims today and I've advocated for a side. If 70,000 people with me all said Jimmy is correct, would you still investigate or would you just believe us all?
There's like, I'll investigate.
Exactly. Yeah. Welcome to Skepticism.
Yay.
We meet on Tuesdays.
I'm just saying though, with things that you cannot like, I'll save it for later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it another time.
I appreciate your guys' time.
Go look up some other claims of things like that. Go look up Muslims think the moon got torn in twain. Go look up all that stuff.
I know.
Yeah, go check it out, Zach.
But, all right.
All right.
Well, thanks for your guys' time. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
We'll see you.
Have a good evening.
Bye. Let's see.
I love you're still Eve is still here.
That was fun. Makes me feel bad. I'm like, I
was
on political.
If I want to talk, then I'll say something. I was very happy for you to take that conversation. So
cool. Let's see. I'm trying to decide between. Do you have a preference on where we go next? Who we go with next?
I don't. I'm good with whoever.
Let me send a quick.
I
note
like
to the
Zach
screen
though.
Yeah, we'll probably unless we ran out of time. Someone was asking if we'll read super chats. Let me just not promise it that we will, but I intend to. But with my health, for all I know, in 3 minutes from now, my body's going to go. And that's all you had. It's over now. It's all over, but the crying. Let me just send a note to. Yeah, why don't you pick the next one though? I'm good with that. I'm secure enough in my masculinity to let a woman drive.
Wow.
Just not my car. But that actually has nothing to do with women. I can't be a passenger. I have panic attacks from it. Don't know why.
I mean, I actually fully relate to that.
I've never had
but everything gives me panic attacks, so I just give up.
I've never had, well, that's true. I have a panic attack disorder, but I've never had a traumatic, specifically a traumatic from the passenger seat experience. And yet I have, I just can't, it takes me a long time to trust somebody else driving, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially when, no, I'm kidding. Actually,
I'm over here reading, like trying to pick a caller. I could be really selfish and take the one that is more for me.
You think I won't have an opinion on it? I'll be like, listen, I know this is on women's
Well, it's specifically asking,
but
could you talk about why Eve was framed? So
I can talk about that at length. I'm just kidding. No.
Why don't we take that call and you answer the question?
I don't want to.
Cool. Let's take this. I really would love for that too.
You're reciting.
That's why I want you to answer it.
All right, go ahead.
Let's see. Hey, Terry. How are you?
Hi. Absolutely fantastic. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. We're here.
Okay.
What's your question?
Go for it, Terry.
Okay. So, started out conservative Christian, blew that popsicle stand for liberal Christianity, blew that popsicle stand because there was still problematic nonsense in the Bible. And then I started to get into biblical lore, and I liked Lilith for two reasons. One, because of Lilith Sternin Crane from Cheers, which a lot of the audience may not know who she is. And then Lilith from the Sabrina, the Dark Tales of Sabrina. I really like that character. And then as I started to look at the Bible as literature, I started to notice how a lot of Near Eastern tales seem to be blended into it once I took the scales off. So I want to know, I thought that when I first saw that Eve was framed, I thought, oh, you know what, that's an interesting thing. And then I noticed that it was a username. So I'm like, okay, I want to know a little bit about this story. So, or about like how you may have come to that conclusion or something like that. So
great. I'm going to mute Eve. Just kidding. I'm not going to do that. So what people don't know about this story, Terry, and I think Eve makes the same mistake. Eve went to a Sears portrait studio, and there are options.
Oh, this is
when
a
you
really
get a
bad joke already.
large portrait done, to get your portrait put in a frame. Now, there were these two other forces that were like, don't get it framed. That's a ripoff. That's how they make the money. Just get your free photo and put it in here. And then there was this other force going, do it. Get the frame. It will be. And one of them was God, and the other was Chuck. Now, the Bible doesn't talk a lot about Chuck, and I'm pissed off about it. Chuck was right. Don't pay for the frames at the Sears Portrait Studio. And so the real lesson we should take is understand when a company has a free cheap item to trick you into buying the more expensive item. And
that's exactly what happened to me, actually. Yeah.
There you go.
That's the correct response.
All right. Thanks, Terry. We're going to move on. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Terry, my response is kind of boring because I'm actually not one of those. I'm not one of those ex-evangelicals that is super into the Bible or the stories from it. In fact, it's very rare that I even talk about it. However, when I was making those accounts was when I was first, when I had first left religion. Well, not really. It was when I first decided to speak about my experience on leaving religion. And I have since learned that Eve was actually, I believe, a feminist slogan that they used back in the 70s. But I hadn't, as far as I know, I mean, I'm sure I saw it and it was back in my mind somewhere, but I hadn't heard of it. The only story that I really resonated with my whole life from the Bible was the story of Eve, because so many times stuff would happen in my life. And the response to me was, yeah, well, Eve, in the fall, like that's when everything went bad. I could trace everything back to Eve eating this fruit. And I remember like as a child having I hate Eve. She did this terrible thing. And now, now my life sucks because of it. And then as I started reading the Bible, when I was questioning everything for the first time, like really, truly questioning if what I believed was true or not, I remember reading it a lot differently this time, with a lot more compassion and thinking, because obviously I don't believe any of this actually happened. But I remember thinking like,
Right.
If this story really did happen, and Eve supposedly didn't have knowledge of good or evil, and she didn't know better, and she just was put in this garden, and God knew everything ahead of time, because I believed that God knew everything, then that means that God created Eve knowing what was going to happen when he put her in the garden with that fruit, and knowing what that would mean for me, however many thousand years later. And I felt like she was framed for God to do his dirty work, and he framed it he framed her for what was done. And so that was just kind of my one last fuck you to religion of not only do I not believe any of this shit, but also you guys fucking framed Eve from the very first story in the Bible. So that's kind of my take. It's not like anything really super exciting or well thought out like some theologian. I just love the idea of taking back and reclaiming that story. And the other thing that really pisses me off about this story is it says in there that God told them that if you eat of this fruit, you will die in this day. And that's the translation. That's the correct translation, is that they would literally die. It would be an actual death in that day or on that day. And the serpent tells her you won't die, and the serpent ends up being right. So God lied. And that's another part that gets missed and all of that. So anyways, that's my answer.
I love your answer. I will, this is not trying to add, but my separate thing. I think that similarly to how the Exodus is the story of the Exodus and Moses in Egypt is pretty good evidence that, our world has been racist for a long time, because that's basically our first big popular racist ass story, where it was like, oh, look at these dark skinned people oppressing these lighter skinned people. That didn't happen. So the story is fiction. So the purpose of creating that story, it shows our tendency toward racism as over the last several thousand years. I say that the story of Eve also indicates that we men have been in power and really just resented women for a long time, that you would make her the scapegoat that is the one susceptible to, you know, Satan has a magic spirit penis and is a guy technically, but she was the one who fell for his ghost cock.
Wow.
I know, I'm very articulate. Y'all can,
Hey.
I get it. You're all impressed. Anyway, any thoughts before we jump along here?
So just a quick question. Just a quick observation. Okay, Job. That's a mouthful right there already. But
Oh yeah.
I've always found it interesting that when Job, the disaster, his kids are all dead and everything is gone, and then his friends said, "You must have sinned," and then Job is like, "No, I didn't," and then the friends say, "Well, this is what happens when you sin against God," and then Job is like, "No, I didn't," and then God shows up and says, "Who are you to question me?" And he doesn't even be like, "You know, Job, you know what you're going through is because I made a bet with your boy, with Satan over here, you know, and you know what, you passed the test." Like, I'm kind of thinking though, like,
these are interesting character voices.
That really yes, thank you. But that really just like I can't look at that book again as a, hey, sometimes we just suffer, and the human writer just didn't know why, so he said, God is God, so shut the fro up.
Yeah. No, it's a really terrible story, and it's funny because that's often the story when I talk about human suffering. That's theists are always like, "Oh, go read Job, and it'll all make sense." It's like, actually, that's really helping my point here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was a point of curiosity that Eve was framed, but that was
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing how you came to that. That was,
of course. Thanks for the question,
it was fun.
Jerry. Of
Very
course.
cool.
All right.
Thanks, Jerry.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm working on an inside joke for everybody. It's going to take me a couple minutes. So why don't you pick the next call?
So
Let's do a theist next.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Do we even have? Oh yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, we've got a few.
I like. Let's go with 9. You can talk about politics more.
Thanks.
Hey, Dirk. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's your question for us?
Oh, great. Well, I've prepared several, but you only have to answer the ones you like, obviously. So,
Okay, cool.
I heard some of the political things. Didn't hear from you very much, Eve. So it'd be nice to hear from you too on some of these. So maybe I'll ask you one, and then the gentleman. Sorry, I missed his name.
Sandra Crookshanks.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Jimmy.
Thank you, Crookshanks. All right, Jimmy. All right. So the first question: how does your atheism influence your approach to ethical and moral decision making in political context?
Literally not at all. Not even a little bit. Not even kind of. My lack, I dare say, were I to be religious, my religious worldview would influence my politics. My atheist, quote unquote, as you put in the notes here, worldview doesn't, because atheism, and this is a fun fact, is not a worldview.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, because Jimmy and I also are going to be in different places on some of these issues as well, even though we're both atheists, because it's not a worldview. So it doesn't. In fact, what's interesting is that my politics changed before I lost my faith. So actually, my political views have not changed hardly at all since I left religion. So there's more evidence that it didn't change at all.
Dirk, what do you
so
think?
It doesn't impact it.
Sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
Dirk, what do you think the atheist worldview is?
Well, that's hard to pin down. Obviously, I've watched a lot of videos with you, Aron Ra. I know I'm probably not saying it right, and the theme is we're not stating anything. We just are, other than the fact that there is no God.
Let's do this. I can make this easy, Dirk. Instead of you've got 100 random atheists in a room. What are you sure that they all agree on?
Eating, breathing, etc.
Nope.
is good. No.
Not
None of
even.
that's-
Go ahead.
Yeah,
None of that's relative to atheism. And in fact, you could have a person who is an
Okay.
atheist and suicidal. So, you know, if you got 100 random, there's going to be at least one or two in there. So you'd have somebody in there who doesn't believe. But as far as
there's only-
for being an atheist, what would those 100 people have in common because of their atheism?
Well, you know, obviously you're making a good point. Maybe nothing at all. So I'm
No, not nothing.
You know, if I've said the right.
There's one
All right.
specific thing.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Eve, do you want to give
Sorry,
it
go
away?
ahead.
Sure. So, well, there's one thing that every atheist will agree on and has in common. Maybe will agree on is not even the way to put that. There's one thing all atheists have in common, is what I say.
Yeah.
Do you know what that would be?
They do not believe in a God. They do not believe in a
Right.
God.
That's
or
it.
God.
And that's the
Yep.
only thing the word atheist or that label can tell you about a person. So if I say I'm an atheist, that is literally the only thing I'm communicating. I could be a Republican, right-winger. I could be an anti-feminist. And I hang out with a bunch of atheists to have conversations, and we sit and debate politics because we don't agree on them. And we sit and debate values because we don't all share it. So there is a worldview.
Yeah, that was the second question. You know, do you think atheism, you know, leads to a specific political conclusion? And you've said,
No.
you know, resoundingly no.
Yeah.
So,
I
Dirk,
think so.
I think skepticism will likely most often go certain directions. I think that a person who is adequately skeptical when applying their skepticism to political claims will probably end up somewhere on the left and probably beyond capitalism. That's what I believe. However, skepticism isn't atheism, but I do also think that the largest group of skeptics come from they also tend to be atheists, because in this world, addressing the religious problem, that religion is so pervasive, isn't really an option. But I'll tell you this. I get why you thought it was this way, but you kind of have it backwards. So I'll give you an easy metaphor. If I am an atheist, regardless of if atheism is a worldview, and there is a religion out there that is also a political party, and the religion and political party believe that there is a magic penis in the sky whose will changes sometimes, but is mostly consistent and directs its people to behave certain ways, to have sex certain ways, to take care of certain people in certain ways. If I believe, if there is a political party that's a thing they all have in common, is this magic penis in the sky, then as an atheist, there's not a lot of ways for me to justify being a part of that political party, because I would not be able to be really a comfortable atheist there if I denied the claim of the magic penis. Does this metaphor help, Dirk?
Well, it does. It does.
Because real quick, hang on. Good.
Oh,
because that does exist. It's called Christianity and conservatism. It's about a magic penis in the sky, and that's why I am not a conservative.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so and then there are atheist foundations and organizations, and we've concluded they're not all the same, obviously. How do you think that they contribute to political discourse and activism?
Totally devoid of whatever their atheism is. Again, these aren't things that... maybe you have a list of questions ready, and you should just sit here and evaluate.
Yeah,
if I've already acknowledged that atheism isn't a worldview, then the answer to all of these is going to be the atheism part won't be relevant. And you're getting that from me,
it is a little bit, because you just... Now, hold on. Let Dirk talk. You just said if there were...
Dirk, what was that last phrase you just said?
Oof.
Let Dirk speak.
Dirk, I will speak. Hang on. I am going to talk when I want to talk, but you just said that as I was finishing a point and you were speaking. So
right, because
Dirk,
you were talking about a giant penis in the sky, and you said if it was an all-pervasive political ideology that were tied to a religion, you would not be a part of it. And then you just said that your atheism does not influence your politics, which clearly conflicts with your previous statement.
That is not what I said. I said it would be devoid of my... No, I like that you threw in the word effectively because you're like, I reworded it. My atheism...
Well, no, I didn't reword it. I don't remember exactly precisely what you said. But the thing is that what you're saying...
Dirk, I muted you, Dirk. Ba-da-da-da-da-da! Dirk! My political views are mostly influenced by my skepticism. My skepticism directs most of the things I believe and choose, choices I make. It's how I got to the humanist thing. So what political or humanitarian decisions I make are a result of my skepticism. Guess what else was a result of my skepticism? My atheism. It is separate. The core of all of them is skepticism, not the core is atheism. So it's sort of like, I'm trying to even think of how to metaphor it as we're branching this thing out. If I sit here and I'm bad. I cannot come up with a metaphor for this on the fly for some reason. But the point is to say that I have a political thing in common because of my skepticism. The skepticism was also doesn't make the atheism that thing that directed it. I'm a leftist as a result of my skepticism. I am a secular humanist as a result of my skepticism. I'm a universal nihilist as a result of my skepticism. And I am an atheist. It starts with the skepticism. It branches out. You wanting to insist that I go to skepticism and then bounce over to the atheism is the wrong direction. That's going around your elbow to get to your foot. Do you now understand?
Yes, that was amazing.
Great.
Thank you. Let's hear from Eve.
Hear what? He just explained it. That was like an objective thing, and he explained it. So
I feel
okay.
Were you trying to virtue signal your way out of not having to apologize for putting words in my mouth?
No, nobody's putting words in your mouth. You spoke for about 15 minutes there, and you said your piece.
Guess how many minutes you've been on the call? Total.
Oh, I'll unmute him now because I did mute him. How many minutes have you been on the call?
Guess how many minutes you've been on this call?
You
just accused Jimmy of speaking for.
You have said
cool. You're going to talk over me now. You're getting muted too. So just so you know, you just accused Jimmy of talking for 15 minutes, and this call just now hit 10 minutes. And you're probably still talking when I unmute you now. Let's see. Maybe not.
Hallelujah.
Oh, no. Yay. Okay. Now we can say something. So anyways.
What point would you like to make next, Dirk?
The point is that you said that you think atheists tend to fall on the political left. Is that correct or false?
Actually, that is also false. I said...
Yeah, that's not what he said.
Okay.
Atheists who adopt skepticism, I believe, will more likely end up on the political left. And similar to what I just explained to you about you, that is even me using the wrong direction. But I was an atheist. I adopted the language atheist before I knew to adopt the word skepticism, even though that was the direction my life was taking. But skepticism was the, I adopted the label atheist prior to skeptic.
So the skeptical atheist, you think, tends to fall on the political left?
I would have to think that because I am a skeptic and I believe that I have utilized good skepticism. By the way, I think anybody, it wouldn't matter if they're an atheist. This is the thing you keep missing, Dirk. I think anybody who uses skepticism truly as they retain, they wait to believe anything until it is warranted. Their beliefs are all warranted and they put effort into believing as few false things as possible and many true things as possible. Anybody who has that, whether or not they failed and they're still a theist, but they are a skeptic. And I've known a few people that I think are otherwise good skeptics who are theists. I believe that I correctly applied skepticism and that led
That they didn't.
to my being a leftist. Therefore, I believe anybody, because I don't think it's special or subjective whether or not you applied skepticism, anyone who applies adequate skepticism in the current world and current political climate will fall on the left.
Okay. How do you reconcile your skepticism with the need for trust or belief in everyday life, such as trusting scientific findings or believing in moral principles?
I don't have to.
Right. We
What do you
apply
mean?
skepticism
I don't have
toward
to-
it.
You did that. How do I reconcile trust in scientific consensus comes with me, an investigation of whether or not scientific consensus is trustworthy. But I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I will
Right.
say, knowing how the scientific method works, and I think everybody should investigate this. I think everybody should participate in the sciences as much as they can. But there are still signs for people who don't that science works, like medicine, cell phones, the very technology. We do have the results. I don't think that's adequate to necessarily go, I definitely believe this, or this. But I think it's a good start for a lot of people and probably as far as a lot of people get. But I wouldn't call them skeptics. Science, I trust the scientific consensus because the scientific consensus has a really good track record. And every time I've gone, okay, I want to investigate what their claims are and see if I can understand for myself why they're getting there. And if it seems like the scientific method was respected, I have yet to see that not be the case when it comes to the scientific consensus. Perhaps a little bit with some medical consensus stuff from the past, but not more modern, especially as we've improved and refined our things. As far as morality goes, anybody appealing to some greater, it's so funny because this is the one that theists like to bring up the most. Well, then there will be no objective morality. The fuck makes you think there's objective morality? Look at the difference between just how Christians treat each other. But morality is a human activity. If an alien civilization came up, we would hopefully extend into them because we had a value of consciousness and whatever. But as far as we know, we've only existed on the planet. Morality is a human activity. We see things that other animals do and go, oh, they seem to have some moral system, but that's a colloquialism. When we're talking about morality, we're literally talking about how should a human behave in regards to how other humans exist. If you lived in isolation on the planet, you could no longer do anything immoral. Period. Morality is literally how do we treat each other? And I think it's crazy when people are like, therefore, there's no, if you're not a Christian or you're not a theist, you could have no objective moral standard. Yeah, no fucking shit. And that's the way the world has clearly existed for the last several thousand years, where religious dogmas have come in and tried to set down a religious code. And every single one of them has been improved when they started acting more like a different system. And I happen to adhere to that system that they're improving toward. Because every improvement you've seen in Christianity and Islam and Hinduism, as these people become more progressive, it's because they look more like secular humanists. Because secular humanism simply says, let's do what we can do to maximize the well-being of people, to be advantageous to the most people as possible, and to also respect autonomy when possible, and to really minimize when we take autonomy away. And so when you look at a worldview like Christianity, where they're like, well, we believe all of that, we just only believed that certain people were people. So back when it was slavery, we believed that you should love your neighbor. We're ignoring the part where the clarification of who your neighbor is or your fellow being is meant only other Jews. And so when we're talking about slavery, we're basically talking about livestock. And as people have figured out that that was wrong and they adapted towards something that if a secular humanist view was the widely adopted one, would have never happened. So I'm really fucking tired of listening to religious people go, this human thing we do, which is decide morality. What if it's nothing is objectively good or bad and humans are deciding that based on how they treat each other, when that's the fucking point, and you should have to defend why your moral worldview, and this is where Christianity just tries to fuck everybody totally non-consensually. To have an objective worldview means I get to have slaves and you get to say nothing about it because the objective worldview giver said so. It means Christians or anybody else who holds that don't have to defend their moral worldview, where I think they should all be defended. I think that I can sit here and go, if there's not a magic penis in the sky, how do I know that a person shouldn't own another person? I think I can get up in a court of law and defend that fucking shit way better than any religious person can defend the contrary. So there's the answer to your two objections. And when I sit here and I apply, as we've been talking about the skepticism, not only do I not find your objections challenging, I find that the fact anyone thinks they're true objections means they are poor thinkers and probably not anyone I want to take any moral advice from.
Thank you for that answer.
You're welcome.
Thank you. What it sounds like, okay, and this is just what it sounds like, okay, is that you have not a neutral position, and you've presented yourself as a neutral skeptic grounded in logic and reason.
No, I didn't. You added the word neutral there. I have never said I was neutral. I'm not neutral. I'm fucking shit. Take the word neutral out.
You don't sound, well, you don't sound neutral. You sound rather antagonistic towards religion.
Of course, it should be antagonized. Neutrality has nothing to do. Skepticism. Okay, Dirk, are you an anti-vaxxer?
Oh boy.
Well, Dirk has taken his vaccines, but not the COVID vaccine. So if that makes
fine, Dirk, you're not an anti-polio vaxxer. I just have to get with something we can agree on first, right?
Well, Dirk's taken the polio vaccine. Sure, yeah.
Dirk, why are you referring to yourself in the third person?
No, don't make this about that, please.
Okay, goodbye.
Just keep going.
No. When you're ready to interact with I'm not going to sit here and defend my worldview when you're going to take the easy way out and act as though whatever you're advocating for is a character named Dirk's worldview. Call back when you're ready to have an actual conversation, 1-to-1, not 1-to-3rd. Goodbye. Or 2-to-3rd in this case.
I love what all this sleep has done for you, Jimmy. This is amazing.
Yeah. The mental sharpness, the clarity has returned in a way it hasn't been here in years. I got energy. Now when calories enter my body, I want to burn them. I'm going to burn calories all over Dirk's silly things.
I love that he asked for me to talk and immediately interrupted me and spoke over me and then proceeded to not care about what I had to say about any of that or respond to it, but whatever.
The irony. I'm sorry if you wanted to talk to Dirk more and I stopped the call before then.
Didn't.
Okay, because that was
no, it's all right.
I really don't understand anybody who, again, I really think it's a cop-out. Imagine if you're a Christian, I'm an objective moral giver.
Oh.
Yeah. I have an objective moral giver. Therefore, I say this is righteous because God said. And then I say, no, I don't believe that. I think you should consider this and how it violates the autonomy. And I consider this and this. And they go, okay, well, defend it even further compared to what God said. And I'm sitting there go, defend that what God said is good because it doesn't seem very good to me. And but it seems good to me. So it is subjective, you fucking.
Right.
I don't know why I wanted to yell whore. But I wanted to call that fake person. It was a man, by the way, that I was debating just now. I wanted to yell, you fucking whore. Because I don't use, whoredom, I'm a big fan of. But there's no doubt that our brains have been programmed to hear certain things as insults. Luckily, it only took me a year or two to not scream the things that I learned as a kid to yell out. And a lot of R words, a lot of like on Xbox chat rooms. In Wyoming.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was definitely a part of that. Those righteous whites who were like, we have to take the N-word back so it doesn't have power. One of those fucking idiots where it's like, I live in Wyoming. I know 3 black people and they definitely actually agree with me. And not just because we would treat them like shit if they didn't. We would other them.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't like about Dirk is I feel like or the conversation with whoever that was. I feel like there was a question they were going to get to at some point that's what he actually wanted to bring up. And we kept not giving him whatever it was that was going to get him to that point. And
I like that I coached him. You've got a list of questions. I just answered the first one.
Go through and now mark off all the ones we just answered for you. Yeah. Jeez.
Don't keep. Well, I'm just going to keep going with the lines as I have them. But yeah, I from now on, I'm not taking that shit with the more. Well, you don't have objective morality. Great, then you don't have defensible morality.
Right.
I can defend mine. You literally not only can't, you don't think you should defend yours. If it's objective, you think you should just do it regardless of the
exists.
impact.
Right.
Yeah. God says kill a bunch of brown people, as he weirdly tends to do. You go kill a bunch of brown people. You don't even question it. God's ways are harder than mine. I'll at least defend mine, you fucking whore.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to do it.
You were holding it in for
I love
so
women
long.
whores. Women who are the whoreness I am just a big fan of. Male whores, which is a total non-sexual thing. It's like the kind of people who ride their motorcycles with the loud muffler at 3 a.m. Those are the bad whores. The more I try to defend this, the deeper my hole digs.
It's getting worse.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let's talk to Roberto, who wildly thinks that Sharia is better than the degeneration of society. Roberto from Cuba, here you are. What up?
¿Qué hola?
Are you really calling from Cuba?
Sí, sí, claro. Ustedes son un par de mierda.
Wait. Sir. Entiende nada. In inglés? Oh,
descarados, ateos y prostitutas. Tú no sabes lo que tú estás haciendo.
Hey. Are you going to speak in English or no?
No.
Okay. See you, bud. I heard you call me a prostitute, though. Goodbye.
Bingo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're getting worse. That was just a troll.
It's not even a thing of, if you speak Spanish, go call a Spanish show. But
that was just straight up trolling. I caught some of what he was saying. Yeah.
Was he calling you a prostitute or me?
I think that was both of us.
Great. I wish people would pay to fuck me. Are you kidding?
Yeah, he was mostly just being a troll and spouting profanities. So, yeah.
You waited for so long to get so little out that so few people will understand. And you said that you were calling from Cuba,
he was like, this is going to be so funny.
Flag.
I'm going to say it in Spanish, and then they're not going to know. Oh, man.
I don't think YouTube is in Cuba. I don't know. Hang on. Is YouTube in Cuba? Can you use it? Type. That's not answering it. YouTube monetized in Cuba. I just want to know if you can. Okay, here's people asking why they can't stream in Cuba. So yeah, I think this might have been all just a lie from the ground up. How could that guy lie to me?
The whole thing.
But
you fell for it.
I thought you were gonna be real with me.
How are you gonna sleep tonight?
Call me a prostitute.
Hopefully super well again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's giving me sores on my nose. People are gonna think I have a Coke drip again. It's not Coke this time, guys. It's been a long time.
Oh my
God.
Oh boy.
All right. We've got a lot of, I think, somewhat argumentative calls. I would love to hear from more theists who are actually going to engage. If you are, let's try and knock out a few atheists real quick. That way we can have more open line for theists. But I do think some of these are argumentative. Let's just jump real quick. Alan in West Virginia, you're on the line with Jimmy and Eve. I literally forgot my own name there for a second. I almost called myself my legal name. You're on the line with Jimmy and Eve. How you doing, Alan?
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Eve. Nice to hear you guys tonight.
You sound nice. We're not going to fight, are we?
No, we're not going to fight.
All right. What do you want? Go ahead. What's your question?
I was raised Christian, but a couple of years ago, I finally deconverted. And I've come to understand how I was so flawed in a lot of my Christian ways. But one thing that I've still really struggled to get away from in life is, and this kind of ties into the call, not the previous one, the one before that, about where my morals come from. And I find myself subconsciously doing things because of how I was raised with those morals in a Christian worldview instead of, I don't even know. Like, I feel like I should hold on to those, and I feel like I should replace them.
Yeah, give us some examples.
Oh, like, just, I mean, I wasn't raised with, like, I was raised Methodist. So just being nice to people, I feel like I should do that because, like, that's going to get me into heaven, even though it wouldn't necessarily. Or, like, oh, I shouldn't do something bad because that could get me sent to hell. Like, things like that.
Gotcha. So you're asking how to break free of this fear of hell and incentive of heaven.
And I want to have, like, a good justification for it without them.
Okay. Eve, do you want to go first? I got thoughts.
So I just want to be clear. So you're saying instead of treating people well because you might go to heaven, you want to feel like you have a better reason because now you've let go of that belief of heaven. Is that right?
Yeah. And for anything I do morally, like if I do something good, I want it not to be because of heaven or because of God or because of the Bible. I want it to be just not that.
Do you want it to still be selfish? It's okay. So it's okay if the answer is yes, but the question is, which side do you want me to address you from? Do you want me to try and walk you through unselfish reasons to do good things, or do you want me to try and walk you through selfish reasons to do good things? Most people, I would actually say the selfish stuff is what appeals to them more.
Then yeah, let's try selfish.
All right. Do you like when people do nice things to you?
Yeah.
Do you like when your autonomy is violated?
No, I can't say that I do.
Is it easier to advocate for things that you yourself do?
Repeat that, I'm sorry.
Is it easier to advocate for, let's say, a worldview that you hold than to advocate for one that you don't hold?
Yes.
Great. So advocate for the worldview where you treat people nice and nice people will treat you nice and you don't violate autonomy and your autonomy won't be violated. It's selfish reasoning, but it's also basic. Selfishness doesn't always mean, the way people use it derogatorily. Unselfishly, you could talk about, the thriving of the species, well-being of humanity. But even that often comes back to, like, if you are in a thriving species, the odds of you thriving will go up. So you can either selfishly or unselfishly. But if you experience a lot of empathy, the best way would be to satiate that empathy would be to advocate for those you feel empathy for.
That makes sense. It's more evolved around the fact that, like, I don't want to be harmed. I want people to treat me nicely. And that's just, if everyone wants that, because that's a common good, then we should all try to aim for that.
Exactly. If you don't want to be harmed, advocate for the worldview where people are not harmed or their harm is minimized. Obviously, we have to harm people who harm people. Putting somebody in prison is harming them. But hopefully we only do it justly. Eve, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think you're probably overthinking it. It's pretty simple. And these conversations about morality, people can get into the deep philosophy of it all. But I think at the end of the day, it really is just like, I don't want to be treated badly. I don't want my consent taken away from me. So why would I do that to somebody else? And also, I love when people do nice things for me and treat me nicely. And so it ends up being really fun for me to treat people that way too, because I know that they're probably feeling some kind of positivity from that interaction, which makes our connection better, which is good for me. So there's so many reasons.
Alan, I'll give you one example for myself, just like Eve just gave. I don't call into call-in shows on speakerphone because I don't want people to call into my call-in show with speakerphone on.
Oh my God.
Guilty. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know, buddy. It's really that simple, Alan. Like and again, the wildest thing that Christians think that this is hard to defend. Of course, I advocate for the worldview that I will benefit, but then secular humanism takes it like to a step higher where you're advocating for a worldview that no matter who you were entering society, you would maximize your benefit regardless of what race you were, what religion you were born into, what sexual orientation you end up having, whatever these like sort of uncontrollable things are. Obviously, religion you can later in life, but being born into a religion is almost, I mean, it's more life affecting that I was born into a religion than all of my physical attributes in a lot of ways. But all that to say, it just feels easy to add it to just go, I'm going to advocate for the worldview that I want to be a part of.
I agree. And then we were mentioning it a little bit earlier, but fear of hell, I still really struggle with that too, even though I don't believe in hell anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and I know
that
the
makes a lot of sense.
hell. Oh, sorry.
No, you continue.
I was going to say, I know the concept of hell itself is a really immoral thing in the first place, you know, a infinite kind of punishment for such a short-term crime. Or
what I say to a lot of people, because it sounds like you logically don't believe in hell, right? It's not something that you're. Do you think that hell exists? Like if we really get an answer from you.
I don't think hell exists.
Cool. Yeah. So what happens is when you're indoctrinated or when you spend a long time believing in something, that anxiety doesn't just go away once you're able to catch up in your head with reality. Your body still feels all of that. And recovering from religion, obviously we we love what they do and they offer a lot of resources for help with that. But I do think what I end up telling people has been the most beneficial for me for getting over a lot of those types of fears that just kind of like still live with me, even though intellectually I've moved past it, is therapy. And for me, that was somatic therapy. I love that, where you're working, it's surrounding the physical impact that trauma has on your body. And I think that belief in hell is a real trauma. Once you've had that, it has traumatized you and you have to deal with that. So I think if you've intellectually already gotten past the concept of hell, now it's just time to like take care of yourself. And in my opinion, therapy is the best way to do that. I don't know what Jimmy might have to add to that.
There's a pretty good exercise that I find people find useful that anytime you're realizing it's your fear of hell, especially if you're alone, you can do it out loud. Defend that you would be going to hell. Basically go, okay, I looked at boobies and now I'm feeling bad that I looked at boobies and that's going to send me to hell. And I believe that it's going to send me to hell because I was taught at church that this was, and they got that belief, and you just keep extending it, making it longer and longer until it just becomes absurd and just sounds stupid. The concept of hell comes from the Bible, which isn't actually spoken about much. The burning in hell that I'm fearing actually comes from a point of fiction called Dante's Inferno. The things that I'm worried is going to happen, like you just literally just take it out until the point that, and the more you do it, the quicker you'll get past it, where you're like, it's really dumb that boobies are making me scared. Don't be scared of boobies, Alan.
I really like both of those. I appreciate that.
Word.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for calling.
Alan.
No problem. You guys have a great night.
You too.
You too.
This is turning out greater. So we're going to, I'm going to cap calls where we are. We're going to probably run through the atheist calls. We're going to probably speed round the atheist calls and then try to do the couple of theist calls before leaving. Eve, if you have to go at any point, I can close out the show.
I'm fading, but I'm going to hang in there.
Cool. I'll try to wake you up. Would it help if I yelled?
Let's have Dirk call back.
Yeah. I think
Just kidding.
I believe
Just kidding.
Dirk is now speaking in third person in the live chat, and as a human cannot be third person. That this thing that you're, if it's possible, it would have to be some extreme mental event that would put you at a disadvantage for us to be interacting with in the first place, because you would have to be experiencing a disorder of delusion like schizophrenia. There's no responsible way. So as soon as Dirk becomes themself, we'll think about it, but it won't be today. Mark in New York, you're on the line with Jimmy and Eve, and we're going to run through this a bit quick. Go ahead. Give us your question.
Hi. So it's great to talk to you guys. I'm sure you're having a great night. So I've been really into religious learnings and reading different books, the God Delusion, stuff like that. And one argument I got in with some friends was that religion can also be a good thing. You know, religion is different for every single person who experiences it. And if it can be a good thing, why should we be advocating for atheism or, not having religion in government?
Mark, what good thing can a person have in religion that they can't have without it?
Some examples that they were saying were things like, well, they get comfort, especially when a loved one dies, or they can get inspiration from it, or
and
things
so
like that.
it
can be a positive thing.
So it's, first of all, inspiration from somebody dying to be healthier or whatever the thing is. That's definitely not isolated to the religious. I feel inspired to not buy a motorcycle every time I read motorcycle death statistics, which, by the way, last time I brought up, somebody was like, oh, Jimmy doesn't. Did you know that there's roughly the same amount of pedestrian incidents? So now should nobody be pedestrians? And I was just like, you idiot. If there's the same amount of pedestrian incidents,
then why are you going to double? Yeah.
Oh, no, it's way worse than that.
Oh.
Pedestrian incidents out of pedestrian events, the total number of people who are pedestrians in a day or a month or a year, whatever you're going to go with, compared to the total number of people who are riding a motorcycle, you literally, thank you for handing me the victory. But anyway, Mark, back to your thing. There is, as far as comfort goes, what the comfort they are advocating for is denial, which means that you have not completed the stages of grief and you have not mourned and you have not mentally actually. And I would actually say that's a bad thing to do. When I die, I'd like people to just miss me and then get over it, to get past it, whether that takes therapy or whatever else. To live in denial, I cannot advocate as positive. But everything that I can say that is good that comes from religion, community, mostly community, can be done without religion. And yet so many evil things that come from religion are hard to imagine advocating for without religion being necessary, without first saying, suspend your critical thinking on the basis of this religion. And now let's go kill all these people, or let's deny these people rights or whatever. I don't find it and by the way, I also don't think there is a single religion, if all religions are faith-based, and they seem to be, that are harmless, because faith seems to not be harmless. So we can literally have all of the good that comes from religion and none of the bad. And it seems to be the easiest way to do that would be without religion.
Okay. That was a great answer. I really appreciate that. My second part, very quickly, is if someone has, let's say, a personal God where they're picking and choosing from the Bible and just kind of making their own religion in their head, is that bad because they're essentially being dishonest to themselves, or is it all right because they're not hurting anyone else based on their lack or their bad reasoning?
I missed part of the question because I looked at the chat. Can you compress that down a little?
Sorry. So if someone has a personal God, is that bad? Because they're using, and they're not forcing anyone else to do others, and they're getting their morals from their own personal God, from a religion that they cut and choose what parts they like. Is that a bad line of reasoning because they're getting comfort from something that they don't have evidence for?
Yes, because it isn't reasoning. You just use the phrase a bad line of reasoning. If you're literally picking a personal God and then you're saying arbitrarily, it sounds like picking and choosing what's good and bad. It means that you have a non-defensible morality. You can't defend the way that you're treating people. You can't defend the way you're behaving, that it's this sort of, you're choosing to do all of that with a higher power. But also, why would you do that? Why would you attribute anything that you are capable of to something that you can't prove exists? I don't want the doctor who tells me he's a great doctor because of what God has given him. I want him because he's because I fucking made medical school my biatch. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering my questions. I hope you guys have a great rest of your show, and I'll be listening here in chat.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a great night.
See ya.
Thank you so much, Mark.
I do understand why those questions are tough when they come in, for the record. I don't want Mark to feel like I thought that it's silly that he feels this way. I've heard all these arguments for so long that I'm like, why are they still arguments? Hasn't everybody in the entire world watched my show? But unfortunately not. Eve will get there. I think everybody in the entire world will watch Eve's stuff at some point.
No, I hope not. I hate being perceived, and here I am on YouTube live.
And truly a rising star. Just
You're
we talk
very
about
generous
stuff
with your
and
definition of that, but
it's
sure.
yeah, sure. But I know what heights I've reached in this industry. And some of them were significant. And you and I will talk about the various things we have in the works. And I start getting anxious thinking about the things you're doing. Is like, if I did that, it makes me want to throw up sometimes.
Oh, welcome to my life. It's constantly just feeling like I'm not enjoying the amount of perception happening.
I know that feel. All right, let's keep going because I want to do this for as long as you have in you. Try and get as many of these in, rather. Marco, you are on the line. Are you going to? Wasn't the last Marco the one from Cuba? Are you the Marco from Cuba?
Oh my gosh! Hi guys. No, that was, I think his name was Roberto. And
you might be right.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're paying attention. Thanks for watching.
More than me, apparently.
Yeah. Just in case you guys want to know, I highly doubt he was a native Spanish speaker by the way he was speaking, nor was he from
I don't
Cuba,
think so either.
Neither had a
Yeah.
So hi guys. Just basically to summarize everything. Okay, so I'm actually from Ecuador, and it's a very highly religious country.
Yeah, very.
And so this last Christmas, I was with my family basically, and we were at the dinner table, and suddenly we were just talking, and the conversation came to me as to why I left the religion, because I was raised highly religious. I was baptized. I did the first communion. I used to pray twice a day because my school also teaches foreign languages. I know how to pray in Spanish, in English, and in French. And so I was like very, very religious in my childhood, but strangely, I ended up just moving away from it. The only thing I can say is just I grew up basically. So
good for you.
Again, I haven't really like seen a lot of arguments about atheism and whatnot, because I'm very new to this. Like, I just discovered you guys' shows and stuff like that. And actually, you came up in my like Instagram reels just a few weeks ago, and that's where I saw you for the first time, because one of your stories. Yeah. So
nice. That's cool.
So basically, we were talking about, and I was like, and my parents, especially my mom, and I had an aunt as well, and they were basically telling me, like, how can you not believe like the Bible is like the word of God? And I'm like, well, I shouldn't really care about what the Bible says. I mean, I have no reason to. And one of the reasons that they told me that, to test the veracity of the Bible was that the Bible has a lot of predictions that actually ended up coming true. And I have feeling that this is actually not a very good argument, but again, I'm just very new to this atheist like responses to this. So I didn't really know what to say other than, well, we don't really know like how they came to that like to those predictions, like the method that they used, because like they said, for example, I actually wrote it down, and they're like a prophecy in Revelation 11-9, I think it was like how many nations would view the same event within a few days time, and they were like talking about like how today billions of people from around the world simultaneously view the same event through mass communication, and like when the prediction was made, communication and transportation took months of time, and I was like, really, like, is that really like a strong one? Other ones that they told me was like how Alexander the Great conquered like the great island fortress of Tyre, and how that was actually written in Ezekiel 26, and it was written hundreds of years before that actually took place. And
what verse in Ezekiel 26 do they think that is? Is it 36?
Ezekiel 26, I think verses 4-5. I think they were like, they shall destroy the walls of Tyre and break down her towers, and that was like supposedly written hundreds of years before. And I just didn't really know what to answer to that, because again, I just don't really know how to actually defend myself with that, because I'd say I was a passive atheist in the sense that, well, I just don't believe in a God, and that's it. Like, I don't really, for example, if you actually came to me and confronted me about my my reasons to be an atheist, I would just say, well, I'm just not buying it. I'm not convinced of it.
Sure.
So that's basically my extent of like my way of defending myself is I just don't believe.
I think we, Marco. I think I think we got it. I think I think you might be feeling compelled to go a little over explain.
No, we get it.
Yeah, go ahead, Eve.
Yeah,
I'll let you take first.
Okay.
Yeah. So first of all, there's so many angles you can take, and my problem with getting into each prophecy is they can claim so many different random prophecies, and I don't think that's the best angle. I mean, like Revelations, that's not even supposed to be a prophecy for now. That was stuff that already happened. And yeah, my problem is you have to convince me why I should care about the Bible at all. And saying a couple of things that maybe like war and famine and stuff that people have been predicting that keeps happening over and over and over again throughout history is not interesting to me. Sorry, Jimmy, you were saying something.
No, I was. I think I was nodding. Marco. So I'm not going to be able to give you the silver bullet right here, right now for that's going to be like, oh, and that Revelation's wrong because the scholars say this and this. But however, when it comes to Revelations overall, one thing that's very interesting about them is most of them are vague. So when they talk about this revelation was fulfilled, because obviously it doesn't say the internet will exist, satellite TV will exist. It is this terminology that can be applied to other things. And by the way, century over century over century over century, those revelations are claimed to mean different things. So right now we say it's TV, but in other periods of time they would have said other stuff like the written
that's
word.
what I was going to say. We've like 20 years ago, people were saying some of these prophecies got fulfilled that they're now saying just got fulfilled last week.
Right.
Historically, that's how vague they are.
My Alexander the Great history isn't wonderful. I believe that I have my things in order here. And I believe when you talk about the revelation of destroying the wall of Tyre, and then first of all, it's not actually talking about a total conquering of the area, but you're talking about a place that even hundreds of years before Alexander the Great was often war stricken and people were wanting to conquer. So the idea that these places that like the way they go with revelations of wars and rumors of wars, things that have always been going on. And so then you have these certain ones that maybe sound more specific, like that one's a little more specific. And then they have these that have been fulfilled. And these other ones that haven't been, they just go, well, that's just not yet. They're coming down the pipe. So we basically, we put a lot of emphasis on the hits, but we ignore the misses. This is what confirmation bias is. But also when it comes to just in general, if that's what makes them a Christian, why aren't they all of these other religions that claim the same stuff? Every one of, and not just the Abrahamic ones. There's fortune telling, futuristic sort of stuff to certain elements of old paganism, certainly Hinduism, and lots of other. But Mormonism, they think there's modern day revelation. And we'll talk about prophecies Joseph made that came to pass in the last 200 years. I had a seminary teacher who believed that Joseph Smith predicted the exact day, location, and topic of the Civil War, what the Civil War would be over, down to such specificity. And then you go and you look at the evidence for that, and it's like, no, and by the way, it's not clear that he was on the north side of that issue either. So what I would advise you, Marco, is go tool searching. Don't necessarily look for the how am I going to anticipate each and every revelation they're going to. Go learn things like street epistemology. Anthony Magnabosco has a great YouTube channel on that. And that's not about countering. That's about asking questions and leading people to skepticism and seeing whether or not a person will acknowledge whether or not their claim has actually met some sort of skeptical threshold. And then on top of that, learn what the fallacies are. Just go look up logical fallacies, learn lots of examples of them. I've added, that's one of the quiz questions on our podcast. I always see if whoever I'm calling can identify a fallacy. Go learn the fallacies and go learn to Socratic method, street epistemology, learn how to ask questions, interrogate in a way, talk to people, ask them about their beliefs, as opposed to learning, what is the rebuttal to this point, this point, this point. Those things can come along, but those are more interesting to follow as personal passions. So if you're very interested in, Asumerian studies and shit like that, follow those because that's where it draws you. But for skepticism, you learn how to ask questions, not how to yell at everybody like I did on these calls. Those are special passions of mine.
Yeah, sure will. All right, then. Yeah, I'll try to do that. Thank you
Marco.
so much.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks for calling, Marco.
Have a good night.
You too.
We've got one more atheist and 2 theist calls. Oh, this is an interesting. I wonder if this is combative at all or not. I'm curious about this. So we'll start with Rose in Alabama. I'm very interested by your question. Rose in Alabama, you're on the line with Jimmy and Eve.
Hi. So I was wondering what your opinion was on society infantilizing women more than it used to, and I'm talking about by liberals, especially liberals who call themselves feminists.
Well, these are different questions, I feel like. The overall question is, does society infantilize women more than it used to? Only if you consider when they used to just dehumanize women different from infantilizing. Right. Like when they were property.
I think it's kind of moved from outright infantilization to now just kind of more subtle.
So are you trying to ask if, people talk about waves of feminism, if within the last 50 years or so of feminist movements, whether or not nowadays liberal feminists infantilize women more than others did?
Definitely I would say within the last 10 years.
Okay. I'm going to guess something, Rose. Do you watch a lot of TikTok?
No. Why would you say that?
Because that's where I thought this question came from. A lot of there is the appearance of some of that where people have gone, there's been almost an overcorrection where it's like, we have to protect the women from ever having sex. All sex is non-consensual. If a man wanted it, there is some of that weird shit out there. It's not, but it's not ubiquitous. It's a lot of young people who aren't fucking anybody, who have weird opinions about fucking and think that consent is difficult to obtain. Consent is easy to obtain. You just should never respect it you should never disrespect it unless you're certain you have it. It might be harder to, however, consent is, I don't mean it's easy to, it would be easy for me to go out and get someone to fuck me. It's pretty easy to figure out if somebody is consenting. And there's definitely lots of weird views around. There are groups of people who call themselves feminists who think that a woman couldn't choose to have sex with anybody ever because she'd be too emotional and dumb. Those people are
right. So, and people who say you might think that you wanted sex or a relationship, but you don't.
Yes, you cannot withdraw consent after the fact. That's a weird, dumb thing I've also seen on only TikTok. If you gave consent certainly there are things where you could discover that consent was not given. Because there were things that were contained, but you going, I don't like that person anymore, therefore I withdraw the consent from having had sex with that person is a nonsense idea. Otherwise, I've had very little consensual sex in my direction. I regret fucking most of the people I fucked.
What are the things that are contained that someone might realize that you just mentioned?
I don't know if I understand the question.
So
you said there might be things that you'd realize.
Right. So like if it wasn't informed consent, so if that person lied about something major, you were consenting to a certain sexual interaction and it turns out that was not the case.
Yeah.
So like if I consent to having someone because I think that they had recently had an STD check come back clean and I've consented to sex with that person, and with that being what's been told to me, and then I find out they lied and actually they did have an STD, then I was not consenting to that.
Right. And that's not her later changing her mind. That means the consent she gave initially.
Right.
But it's kind of like with contracts. You know, if you sign a contract under
it
duress,
voids the contract. Yeah.
right. It's that sort of thing. But I wouldn't say it's the same as if you lied about how safe it is versus like if you lied about, I'm just going to go with something dumb, like how many classic cars you own. I wouldn't call that nearly on the same level. Certainly you could be being a deceptive, predatory asshole, but it wouldn't seem to be. Also, if you're only fucking people who want to fuck you on the basis of how many classic cars you own, you have far more problems to address first.
Oh man.
Well, do you think you think a woman would want to have sex with someone based on classic cars?
I don't care why people want to have sex with each other if everybody's consenting, but it would be weird.
It would be. She would think you were godlike because you had a lot of classic cars.
But I don't know much. I don't know. That
was just like a hypothetical.
Could be a symbol of wealth. I don't know, Rose, what the specific thing would be, but you know, in the reverse, obviously, it's you know, people talk about things like people who are just after you for your money, or shit like that. I find nothing wrong with that if everyone is forthright about that. I find that if a person is open about this is what I'm attracted to, and if that's what that person's personal insecurities can accommodate, then go have sex. I give a shit.
Mm-hmm. But if someone was after you for your money, that's not the same as them being attracted to you. That's just pretending.
I didn't like everybody I had sex with, but I consented. We always consented. I've had sex with people who are terrible people.
But I just wanted to quickly ask, like, what if someone had experienced, say, like a 49-year-old man telling you, you can't consent because I make more money than you?
So this usually gets into power imbalances, and it's a complicated thing, and I don't know if I'm the right person to speak on it or if you should be talking to somebody who's a little bit more of a specialty. But there's no such thing as a relationship without a power imbalance. So the question isn't whether or not power imbalances exists. It's about whether or not power imbalances are exploited. So I feel that despite not even being a millionaire, I am a few thousandaire at best. I think I am capable of consenting to fuck a billionaire. But if the billionaire starts to leverage that, like say they were to get me into a point of financial dependency and then start treating me poorly and threatening to withdraw, that's called financial abuse. And that's certainly a different thing. Now, certain power imbalances are more ripe for abuse than other power imbalances. But again, the presence of a power imbalance doesn't actually tell you whether or not the power imbalance has been exploited. And that would be what modern feminism would represent. TikTok feminists will tell you any power imbalance is rape.
Right. So when you say power imbalance, are you talking about if I had my own money and was able to support myself, he would still have some kind of power over me?
No. It's again, we're not talking about what the individual situations are in that way. It's just a matter of if the power imbalance is present, one only needs to worry if it is being exploited. So if that person is making you consent to things you wouldn't consent to contingent upon a power they have, that would be wrong. But a rich person, again, the power imbalance thing is crazy because there are people who are like, you cannot be in a consensual relationship if there's a power imbalance, which means men can't date women because men in society have more power than women.
Yeah.
Right? Black people can't date white people. No more interracial mingling Because in our society, black people are not afforded as many privileges as white people. Societally, white people have more power in this society than black people do. So you wouldn't have race mixing, gender mixing.
Now you can only date within your class.
Right? No class mixing.
Right.
And you can only date people pretty much who have the exact same job as you, but not within the same organization as you. Like that stuff isn't sustainable. But that's not real feminism. This is mostly... And this is something I had to get over years ago because I was so frustrated by stupid things people would say. These are kids that make it look like, because you'll have a few adult representatives of this, and it looks like that those things are taking hold because there's a lot of interaction. But most of the interaction are from a bunch of children who don't know shit about anything and yet think they know how adults should be fucking each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you, Jimmy.
No worries. Never date a white guy, though. I will say that.
Thanks, Rose.
It's always wrong. Thanks, Rose.
Have a great evening.
White men are only trouble, everybody. Somebody will be mad I said that and ignore the complexion I bring to the table. How are you doing?
Also, I'm good. I'm hanging. I don't know why I'm so tired. I'm like really fading.
I took your good sleep by getting.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Machine.
I really didn't sleep last night, so maybe that's what's happened.
My machine takes it through
It's
the network.
harvesting my sleep quality.
Your oxygen.
Yeah. And I'm the one that's now suffering. That makes sense, actually.
Do you snore? Because I'm going to be paranoid about everyone having apnea from now on, knowing how bad mine was and all the reason to discover. So I'm like, do you snore? Or wait, what if you have apnea?
I don't.
Okay.
Except like once a year, I think.
Okay. Well, that's, yeah.
Like a little tiny snore. Like if I have a cold or if I'm like, if I've had like a drink right before going to sleep.
I do got to get a mask that covers my mouth too for nights that I get congested because I've already had one that was difficult because of congestion. But,
yeah.
Yeah. There's seriously like sores right here at the bottoms and at the tops. And I got to, my nose just has to get used. I have really sensitive skin. It's very soft though.
Can you put like Aquaphor there, or does that not allow?
I think it's a coconut based, but you just don't want to.
Oh, don't do the coconut based.
I don't know if it.
Don't do the coconut.
There's a coconut on the label. Why not?
It's not good for your sensitive skin. It's usually comedogenic.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I'm a licensed esthetician, actually, so I'm okay.
I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a picture of the tube, and you can tell me whether it's a bad tube or a good tube. But
let's chat. This is important.
It's a CPAP nasal lubricant.
Sounds like a scam already. We're going to find you the right thing.
You're probably right. Steve in California, your specific brand of theism appears to be Deism. Steve, how, my friend, have you detected the undetectable?
Hello. I have two reasons why I am a deist.
Okay.
And the first reason is personal revelation or spiritual experiences.
Well, that doesn't sound like a deist, because in deism, there's zero interaction between God and humans.
Oh, then perhaps I'm not a deist.
It sounds like you're a plain old-fashioned theist.
All right. Well, perhaps I've got the wrong terminology, but that's why I called in.
Okay.
I was more of a 12-step type God. So I'm not sure where that would go, either theist or deist.
I don't know what a 12-step God is.
All right, I'll explain the best I can. Where if I feel like I'm kind of gone astray or not going to do the right things or do things that aren't good for me, then I will kind of let go of that God, and that kind of helps me stay away from doing things that aren't good for me.
So, Steve.
Yes.
Hypothetically, let's just say that God doesn't exist. What would that mean about those things you just said?
It would mean that I'm just fooling myself.
No. Quite the contrary. I mean, yes, to some point. It would mean all of the things that you did to stop yourself from doing something bad or to encourage yourself to do something good came from within your own goddamn mind. It's from your own brain. And Steve, I have no reason to believe that that isn't the case. That if you are in fact a good person, that you're not a good, that I have no reason to believe you're not a good person because of anything besides the fact that you want to be. And therefore you came up with a way to do it. And I don't think, if that is all what's happening, that it's a psychological exercise, that you would be incapable of doing it without pretending a God exists.
I'll have to think about that. I guess my answer, because perhaps maybe I'm damaged, and that helps me get beyond that damage.
If you acknowledge, even if you know it's an exercise that you're doing, would acknowledging that it's not literally true do anything? Do you believe if you don't do it, you're going to go to hell? If you do bad things, you'll go to hell? Okay, so
no, not
you don't even believe in consequences on the basis. So even if you go, I have an imaginary genie, and you make it an imaginary genie who you're trying to gain the approval of or whatever, if you've acknowledged that they're imaginary, why could you not do it? But then if you don't need to do that, why can't you hold yourself accountable to real people who exist, like either yourself or other people? I want to do good because I want people I love to love me and their love of me to not be a burden, to not be tough to love. I want to be easy to love. Trust me, as someone who's hard to love, I bet it's way more fun to be easy to love. I don't get it. Why does it need to be?
It sounds like you're wanting to find an external source for these things that you're clearly solving on your own internally, because you feel that you've also been the source of your own problems. But I think that you can be the solution and the problem all the time. We all do that. I mean, that's just being human. And good job. That's amazing. Whatever you've done to get yourself into the position that you are, which apparently you like that position because you want to continue doing things to keep yourself there. And it sounds like you don't need anything external. And I think it's even cooler that potentially the same person that got you into some of the problems is the same person getting you out of those problems.
I can't argue with your logic. I'll add one more thing.
You totally can if you want.
I'll do it. No, I'm just kidding. What's your second reason for believing, Steve?
I guess that the spiritual experiences, and that is basically feeling the presence or power of God.
How did you identify that it was the power of God and not something in your own, that your own brain with its various chemicals is capable of?
Well, there was there had been no substance use.
Doesn't
around
matter.
The time. That would
First of all, Steve, I'm going to blow your mind. You have no idea whether or not you've used a substance.
Huh.
You have no idea whether or not things are in the air that you have an allergic or hallucinatory reaction to, but also most of the things that people describe as spirituality, as he's having these experiences, you can look up times that they've looked at it under not a microscope, MRI, and they weirdly seem to light up the same parts of the brain that meditation does, that other, peacemaking things do. I still get the
going
tingles.
to a concert even.
Yeah. Well, not that for me, but for Eve loves that shit. I'd rather die than be in a crowd, but Eve loves it.
I like live music. I deal with the crowd.
Loud noises. Eve likes loud noises.
I do.
I only like it when trying to isolate away from every other noise. And it has to be the same, few songs. But anyway, Steve, your brain is capable of crazy shit. And it doesn't even have to be allergic reactions. Like the foods you eat, what your blood sugar is, all sorts of things. I just found out my whole brain's been being fucked for years because I'm not sleeping right. And the difference in my mental health now, there's no limit to things that can trigger your brain, because your brain is just a stimulus receiving machine. And what it outputs, while often consistent, has little blips, has little things that aren't necessarily as predictable. So give yourself a fucking break, man. Steve, I'm sad because you think that you need this God to be as great a person as it sounds like you just are.
Well, thanks. I'll have to think about that. And that sounds, your responses were different than what I thought they would be. I'm going to have to think about that.
So you thought I was going to call you stupid or something?
Yeah.
I might still. The night is young. I will say.
Young. Yeah. You never know.
I do have, as far as the other thing you called in about that I see in the notes here, I I like that clearly you are trying to figure it out. And I think that that's very wonderful. So to just let everybody else in on, you are still trying to basically reconcile. You have old conservative feelings about trans issues, specifically trans people in sports, and you want to work those out.
Yes.
Here's the beautiful thing. Next Thursday, Steve, a trans athlete will be on the Transatlantic Call-In Show. We do a call-in show just like this on Thursday afternoons. And next week, an athlete is joining. I think Josie is hosting, and then Stephanie Helms is co-hosting. So I would recommend calling them. Make sure that you, from the top, just be like, I promise I'm here to learn. While I might express to you what my objections have been in the past, it doesn't mean it's an objection that I'm unwilling to overcome. Because depending on where it falls in line, if it's right after a really shitty transphobic caller, sometimes I'm too hostile to one person because I just talked to a fucking creationist. So, you know, but I think they will hear you out and talk to you about those sort of inner objections that are still weighing down on you.
Yes. All right.
Cool.
So this Thursday, this week or next week? This coming Thursday?
This coming Thursday. Yeah. This coming Thursday.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Oh, I think he had a little more to say. I apologize. I thought that was a great call.
I did
now
too.
Let's talk to a Christian Wiccan. Are you ready? Are you good for one more?
I'm good for one more.
Okay, because I don't know how this works. Alexander.
Hello?
Hello, how are you? How should I say your name? Is Alexander correct?
Yes.
Great. Let me see if I have your name tag on. No, I still have Dirks in that spot. Let me, I'll fix the name tag here. But Alexander, pronouns he, him, a Christian Wiccan.
Yes.
Wants to know why I don't consider that an option. So why don't you first explain what you mean by an option?
Well, you once said if you ever had a choice, you would consider Wicca.
I think I probably said paganism. I don't think I would have said Wicca. I probably would go more toward like some Norse paganism if I had to pick a community to go live in the woods with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And an atheist wasn't.
That's a good
option.
choice.
Well,
They have orgies.
If I could tell you something that might interest you, if you got anybody you don't like that you want to put a curse on, Wicca's good for that.
Right, but it doesn't do. So first of all, two things. One, I would find that act immoral in my own personal worldview. Cursing someone I dislike or trying to take justice into my own hands. There are times where I would say, as a human, if I could take justice into my own hands, I would still do it while acknowledging it's probably wrong. But then as far as the other problem is I don't believe that it would take. I wouldn't become something because I would think I would then get the power of cursing people when I don't believe the power of cursing people exists.
Oh, well, I've been trying to do that to Donald Trump for a while.
Well, he's going to outlive all of us. So whatever you're doing is working in reverse.
I think it's been working because they're trying to get it. They almost got him convicted of things.
And you think that you've had, so you think that your curses, that the religious things you've been doing.
Not the justice system, not the people actively working on these cases, not Donald Trump's own actions doing the things that got him in trouble to begin with. But you sitting at home doing something kind of maybe isn't even really working that well.
And it reached through time to go make him perform the crimes and then now hold him accountable for them.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I did the curses after he did those things to get back at him and punish him.
So you believe that the jury won't be actually listening as much to the evidence as they will be feeling compelled by the magic that you have cast?
Yeah.
Why? What evidence do you have to believe that that is true? And why don't you believe that what he did was wrong enough that people would be able to figure it out without the curse?
Because nobody's ever been able to. They've been trying for a long time and they haven't been able to convict him of anything. And all of a sudden they started getting further and further when I started doing my things on him.
First of all, the timing of the stuff wasn't a surprise. They'll talk about it not taking a while, but as far as been trying for a while, you cannot indict a sitting president. So what you're basically saying is he was president, and then after he stopped being president, when he was able to be indicted, but that some amount of investigation time had to happen, and the amount of time that investigations happen are not trivial, that it just so happened that this thing that could be much more easily explained as that's the amount of time it took, it wasn't that. I did some magic.
Yeah.
But you're laughing because you realize that that's absurd, Alexander. You don't actually, if the way you're laughing. Okay. Blessings. Alexander, you obviously don't actually believe that, or you don't think that that's a reasonable thing to believe. So would you like to present a good reason that you are a Christian Wicca to conflicting religions? The Bible does not think highly of witches, and Christianity has not thought highly of witches. But do you have a good reason to believe in Christian Wiccanism?
Because Moses wrote some books, and
Moses didn't exist.
Discovered them, and they're called the 6th and 7th book of Moses, and they talk about how Jesus's miracles were done by magic.
First of all, Moses had existed, lived thousands of years before Jesus. But Moses happened to have not existed.
Yeah, Moses didn't exist.
Moses is a fictional character. The type of Jews that he supposedly belonged to didn't live in that area and hadn't really developed into the larger populations. The Exodus is totally made up. It's an early attempt at racism to go brown people good, lighter people, or brown people bad, lighter people good. Let's fuck over some Africans. Tale as old as time. So
obviously everything was already determined by God long ago. So everything that happened, he already knew it was going to happen. So
are you even listening, Alexander?
I don't think
my opposition to what you said was that Moses did not exist. The story of the Exodus did not happen. That is historically agreed upon even by theological scholars at this point. That it is a story. So why in the world, Alexander, do you believe something on the basis of these books that you allege to exist, now sounding like a fucking Mormon, and that you now think that you think my objection was that Moses knew about Jesus Christ, but they don't bother to write about Jesus in the Old Testament at all, except for these secret books, the special journals they hid under their pillows. Yeah. Laughable. You're right.
Well, I don't know.
I know you don't.
That's just what we believe.
Right. But do you have a good reason to believe it? That's the question. You've told me what you believe. Great.
That's why I wouldn't believe it. You're asking why Jimmy doesn't think it's an option. You didn't ask me, but I'll tell you, it's a bad option because it isn't true.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, everybody has their own belief, but
yeah, mine are well justified. Yours aren't.
Yeah, I know, and I don't argue with other people's beliefs, but that's just what I believe. That
Alexander, do you believe that women in this country deserve bodily autonomy?
What does that mean?
The right to an abortion.
Yes.
Great. You should argue with people's beliefs, because right now people's beliefs are why women in this country are losing the right to an abortion.
That's not right. Yeah. Women should have the right to that.
Yeah, they definitely should. So
right.
when you say you don't argue
those
against
beliefs should be argued with.
Yeah. I don't know why people brag about not arguing with beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alexander, I think you don't, there's some part of this conversation that you aren't present in, because you're agreeing with you're saying yes and agreeing with a lot of things that completely
that's probably
debunk the things you've said.
That's probably because I don't understand a lot. I'm a special need person, and I have trouble sometimes understanding some things.
You have demonstrated that you understood some of the concepts that I'm also a special needs person, and you've demonstrated some things. But if you're saying that there is I don't want to take advantage of any sort of deficit that you're claiming exists here. So, to put simply, I don't believe in Christian Wiccanism because it is nonsense. I'm not simply saying I lack a belief and that there isn't sufficient evidence to believe. I am actually stating there is good enough evidence to say that Wiccanism is untrue and Christianity is untrue. That when it comes to their God and their God claims, I don't just lack a belief in either of their God or supernatural claims. I am saying I believe in the affirmative that God does not exist.
Yeah, sometimes I believe a lot of people's unbelief and stuff comes from people who try to push things on you that you don't want pushed on you, and
yeah, religion.
It should be your decision. It should be your decision what you believe in, and sometimes
belief isn't a choice, Alexander, but you definitely shouldn't be compelled to profess a belief you don't hold. But most importantly, as far as what you believe, you should believe things because the beliefs are warranted. We're going to leave it at that. Okay, Alexander?
Okay.
Don't be a Christian Wiccan anymore. Go figure it out. See ya. Christian Wiccan is, I don't want to be perceived as making fun of that person or caller. I am at a loss.
I'm fine with making fun of Christian Wiccanism, though. That's whatever you want to call that.
That's wild. Do you want to
putting those two words together just doesn't work.
Do you want to do super chats?
Yeah, let's do it.
You sure? Hey, again, if you're too sleepy, you need to go.
I can do it.
Would some music help? I could get some. I've got Epidemic license. I've got some licensed good music. There's actually some bangers on Epidemic. I don't know if you've been on.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have not.
You liked the theme song to?
I did, to the podcast, which you guys should go listen to.
That's one of the ones. What genre are you into? What do you want to? You want some K-pop? You want some lo-fi? You want some?
You have some lo-fi? I was gonna say some lo-fi.
Yeah. Oh, I got lo-fi. I do need to change my audio settings so this doesn't sound like crap. Hey, people, we need you to become patrons. Please become a patron. $5 a month if you want the podcast, $3 if you just want in the Discord. Please become a patron. YouTube is demonetizing I almost promise I'll take a screenshot after this and let you know. But
it'll get demonetized. Yeah.
This episode, it'll probably be within seconds. And I don't know whether it's mass reporting. YouTube is like, it's not that. And I'm like, what is it? Well, we don't know. Then how do you know it's not that? Well, it's not, but it is. Okay, but it's not. Well, it's the only thing that makes sense, okay, but it's not. Where'd my lo-fi playlist go?
No,
I know it's in here. There it is. Here we go. Ba-ba-ba-ba. I don't know. This one's not doing it for me. Okay, this one I like.
That's more, yeah.
Starting with a little record skip. Ooh, the piano.
It's really good.
Okay, this one's me.
Nice.
One's me. A little jazzy, almost.
It is. I'm
like waiting for a
that.
trumpet just going. Anyway.
You could just do that the whole time instead. That's even better.
Sometimes I can do an okay one, not today.
That's the initial attempt was really good.
All right. I'm going to take the music down just a little bit. Get us on our... Is this the right screen? Brapa! Take that off. That's like a really old one. That's an old super chat. I need to send the most recent one. Just shows how long it's been since this specific preset's been open. Here we go from SJL. if I remember correctly, I was at 75 an hour. Luckily, I took immediately to the CPAP. I find it easier to get to sleep with than without. Yeah, I was having a hard time sleeping with the finger sensor when I did the study. So I was really worried about getting used. But it turns out that if you have very severe, which you do, anything over 30 is very severe. Somebody in the live chat earlier tried to claim that they get 200 and their father got 400. Either the measuring system was different or you're lying, because 400 sounds physically impossible per hour. That's wild. The amount of time you would need to not breathe.
What's the math
have
on
your
that?
oxygen? It mathematically makes no sense. So I think you might be mistaken on 400 per hour. I'm not calling your dad a liar. Eve is. Anyway.
Thanks.
But yeah, I was at 55. 75 is closer to the highest I've ever heard of was like that I think was trustworthy was like 110. And even that is like, yeah, I bet you that person's throat closes just when they turn their head when they're awake. They would have to be something crazy like that. Anyway.
$10 from Philip. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. $10 dues for an instant coffee.
Do you ever do impressions or voices or accents?
Nope. No, only when I'm reading to children, in which case I go all out.
All right.
Are you wanting me to do that?
An Australian accent for this one, yeah.
That's the one I don't do. That's the one.
$10 dues for an instant coffee.
That's really good. See, why would I do that when I'm on a show with you?
To tell you the truth.
Wow.
Go ahead, and this is Australian's a bit more. I think this is close. $10 dues for an instant coffee. Could be. We could have a bevy or two. Whatever. Moving on.
Pretty good. Better than me.
Grunkle the Chub says, the convos I've heard on here have all been amazing. This is a great operation you've got going on, but not now that Jimmy's back. Grunkle! How dare you? I never got around to my inside joke. I was going to publish a shirt just for people who watched this episode, but I couldn't get it all together quick enough, and I had to run an update on Adobe.
What was it going to be?
It was going to be a picture frame with the phrase Chuck was right on it. And I was only going to make it available through midnight, but maybe another day. We'll do a different. I'm going to start selling inside joke merch only for the episodes
That's fun.
That'd be fun. Do you like that? Chuck was right. Would you have kind of wanted one?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Alyssa and I had that moment last week when I said, don't apologize to him. And then everyone was like, we need a shirt that says, don't apologize to him.
We'll probably do that as more of a broader.
Because that's just in general, words to live by.
Yeah.
$5 from Rosie Raid. I use D&D as a way to process my religious trauma. My deity system is a mixture of Old Norse and Old Canaanite angels. That's cool. I like that creative way to deal with religious trauma. Meanwhile, Jimmy is really getting into it.
I want to give someone a lap dance to this. It's weird. It's like a very a romantic lap dance. Not like this isn't a strip club lap dance. This is like let's have a baby lap dance sort of song. Oh, it's over.
That's so interesting that there's different types of.
Oh my God, you have not lived. I'm gonna send you 5 different strippers.
I'm afraid we're at the end of this. Okay,
all different categories of types of lap dance.
I don't think I've seen like lo-fi, jazzy.
Like a sensual
I guess we're getting more
dance?
into we're getting it more into like burlesque territory there, I guess.
Okay. I do feel like this is more of the style.
It's like strip burlesque fusion.
This one's pretty jazzy too.
Yeah, very.
But actually, this I expect to turn into hip hop any moment. Or it's like throw in the bass, and then somebody would just be like, "My mom died last week, and I don't mind 'cause I am doing heroin." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't do heroin, people. It'll ruin your relationships. Did anyone read this?
Yeah. I did, actually. You were busy you were busy doing a lap dance thing. And I was saying that that's a creative way to process religious trauma.
An engagement lap dance. Like it ends with somebody popping a ring.
Why don't you start an OnlyFans where you just make lots of different
lap dance videos? Like,
Yeah.
here's how you break the news.
You can
to
do like
somebody.
a wholesome one. Yeah. How to tell somebody their dad died during the lap
this is a dead dad lap dance, and it's a lot of like first come in with like a tool belt, like you've just been working in the garage.
Oh my God.
And then you drop the tool
Terrible.
belt, and one tear falls.
Wow.
Then you take out your okay. Anyway, moving on. That's the.
This one's yours.
Philip Letch says $10 dues for 2 instant coffees. Sorry.
Thanks, Philip.
Sorry for the accent. You're probably
Good thing that you got this one that time. $10 from EcoStar. We don't have free market capitalism in the U.S. I hate this word. Oligopolies. I can't. I just see you like moving out of the corner of my eye. Control our economy and extract money from consumers. One easy example, Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster, who is probably going to be working with Jimmy here shortly on his tour when he does his lap dance, Era's lap dance tour. That's what it is. It's all the different eras of lap dancing that Jimmy's doing over here. That's amazing. Wow, I got a whole
so
hair.
now I'm like tempted to do way more stuff. Say, hey baby, here come the nipple rubs. Let's see. Moving on to the next. Shelly Marie says, I currently pay for membership towards Skeptalk. Would it benefit y'all more to put that toward Patreon? Do whatever you like. Technically, YouTube takes more. They take like 30% or maybe 35. But if that you're supporting anywhere, I'm very touched by. If you want the podcast more promptly, like the first episode of the podcast, the 0 episode, the one with Stacy, the pre-episode is only just about this weekend to go to channel members, and they've had it for a couple weeks. So it's sort of up to you, really. It's up to you. It's up to you. Here you go, another Australian person.
$10 from PhD Tony. Holy crap, Eve. Pipe down for a second and let Jimmy speak, damn it. I know, I was so rude to Jimmy tonight.
I feel like I want to get way worse because my partner's watching, but people will interpret it as directed at you, and I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm not going to. Not that I would get naked on stream.
The Eve police would come after you.
I was going to show a little chest hair. Ooh.
Oh, that's so offensive.
I don't know. People are fucking nuts. I hate the internet. Dade Murphy says, a more accurate description would be Republican radical insurgency, no longer interested in parliamentary politics. I agree. I'm positive that Dade probably laughed when the person was like, wait, are you a communist? Dade and I could go on at length about communism, I feel. Dade is a shorts creator. He remixes a lot of our stuff, but he throws his own stuff in there.
I remember you told me. Yeah,
he's a cool guy.
That's awesome. $10 from Larry Fishman. Things won't get better under Biden, but queers like myself won't end up in concentration camps. It's a great point. And that's the best we can hope for in this stupid country. Yeah. Yep.
Yep, we just might die when they try to take their country back, but no camps at least. We're taking our country back. That's my new hick. They've got the old 2004 ringtone and they play it on their banjos. It's because it used to be, what was the one that people used to play? Anyway, for rednecks. My brain's going everywhere. It's too much. Is this me? Is this you?
This is you.
We don't trust in scientists, this is Dane Murphy. We believe the scientific findings, conclusions drawn from them is interpreted by experts on the subject. Yep, and I insist on peer review. A lot of people like to send you, here's an article, here's an article that's making claims, and it was from science, and it's literally like yet to be peer reviewed or just won't be peer reviewed, and it's more of like from a science company that has the word science in it than actually scientists. I don't want to talk to a scientist. All they're doing is lying.
$4.99 from Gaius
How do
Husky.
magnets work?
Jimmy Snow. FTW. What is that again? My brain isn't right. For the win.
Fuck the Wiccans.
Alyssa and I. Have you watched Alyssa and I read? That's what it is. Alyssa and I trying to read super chats and trying to make sense of all this really cool internet talk. We don't know what any of it is. It's pretty funny.
It's probably inside jokes here, like YGH for your gay homie. And
I know that one.
GFYJ.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair
Yeah,
enough,
I know those.
Dade Murphy says, excuse me, have you researched Jared Leto, though? Are we talking about someone who is like a weird culty guy, but is so hot you might ignore it for one night of passion? Because no,
Also,
I haven't looked into him.
Weird story. I was speaking at an event one time, and some guy came in and was clearly unwell and ran up to me. Security had to get him out, but before they could, he had made a book for me that was all about, and I'm pretty sure he made one for Matt too. I think it was me and Matt he had come there to try to talk to. And he made a book, and it was full of pictures of Jared Leto. And it was telling me that Jared Leto is the Antichrist and that God has called me to come conquer the Antichrist, Jared Leto.
Do you want to know the craziest thing about that story? That man was Jared Leto. It was Jared Leto bringing the book to you. It's crazy. Alex McKick says, Alan here. Thanks for the call. Enjoying the show. Alex, Alan, now I don't know what to believe.
At least it wasn't Dirk.
I dare you to super chat, Dirk.
$20 from Kathleen Moncrief. Jimmy's legal name is Jimothy Snowmathy.
It's Jimothy Snowmathy. Yep, you're right.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
can't argue with that.
Yep. Mario Marufu says, I had all the pieces of a near-death experience, one at time over the years. I interpreted it as my neurons acting up, but I feel like it helped me understand my dad's NDE. You can all hear that my brain sharpness is losing its peak. Let's just say that. There you go.
729 from Ripsteak Face. Moral actions are those that, when visited upon you, reduce harm, remove barriers, and increase your well-being. Just my 2 cents.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
But literally, a human act. We literally don't worry about any other intelligence except for these fake-ass book gods.
And yet, people claim it's an objective force.
There's almost certainly more intelligent aliens out there than humans. Somewhere. Not interacting with Earth, but somewhere in the universe.
Right.
And if you really cared that much about these higher powers, you'd put all of your effort into the ones that probably exist instead of the ones that a penis told a penis who told another penis. For sure. Think about the magic sky penis. Mormons believe that God literally has a physical penis, by the way, if you didn't know that. Jonathan says, hey, wait a second. This is the power duo for podcast episode 001. Love the casualness of it and hope you keep doing it. I imagine we will. Though it will be a while before we have Eve back on Live on the Line, but I bet we'll have Eve on Jimmy Snow Has a Podcast very soon if she wants.
That would be fun.
Could be.
We'll have to do a Patreon crossover now that I've ventured into that territory.
Hell yeah.
Be fun. $4.99 from Gayest Husky. Also, all of these prophecies can be fulfilled by people who believe and so are self-fulfilling, and all are trivial things that anyone can predict. Yeah, a lot of that is just, you can read it and see it. I think there was one recently where there was a calf of a certain color, and they were saying if it got brought into a certain city, I'm getting these details wrong. Something like that. But something like that. And it's like, of course that prophecy got fulfilled because they read about it and then they went and did it. That's not a prophecy. That's like somebody scripted something and somebody went and acted it out. So,
do you know what I'm referring to with the Kirsty?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I just heard about it. Yeah.
Oh my God. I just hate her so much. $5 from Skeptoidius. Eve needs her own line merch. Maybe a shirt mug with a snake wrapped around an apple. Also glad to see you.
I actually have that.
And go unfuck yourself. I was just going to say, maybe you should just go to Eve's merch store for the Eve specific stuff.
But I would love to do,
stuff
we can do a crossover. But I actually literally have a mug and I have a sweatshirt. I'm working on the shirt part, but I have a mug with a snake with an apple and all the things. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Go check it out.
That like hyper specific branding stuff that doesn't happen on the line, creators will have that on their own stores, because it would be weird for us to be like, hey, this thing that's like your thing, it's our thing now? That'd be weird.
But maybe this person doesn't know me off of the line, so that's fair enough too. Go check out my Instagram bio, has a link in there to my merch store.
Go check out our new Valkai Labs, the line merch. Like, well, that would be weird. That'd be a weird thing to do. And I'm doing it. It's available now. No, just kidding.
What if you just went and like recreated my merch and put it in the line store?
It's just my money now.
Yeah.
You'll get a piece back, but so will everyone else.
Right. Is this on me?
Yeah.
$4.99 from Swamp Woman making Oreos. Nipple balm for breastfeeding mothers. That's the right thing to soothe your nose where the nasal pillows rub. Works like a charm. This is not wrong. Anything with lanolin is actually, which it's not vegan though, so that's something to keep in mind. Jimmy doesn't care. Jimmy just wants to keep having nasal issues.
Put lanolin up my nose. I hear it. All right. I was listening. I can multitask.
That was
I've been
some
a
helpful
dancer my
advice
whole
for you.
life. I know. I dance when I give lectures. I do the cha-cha when I make a sandwich. $20 from El Martel. The majority of the content my wife and I consume is atheist debates and dropout D&D shows, Dimension 20. We're both so excited for the Lines D&D. Great show, you guys. Thanks for going so long. Well, we need like 1,300 more patrons for that to become a reality. But I promise you, if we hit it and we do it, a not insignificant budget from those will be used to make sure we do it awesome.
Properly.
It's gonna be the shit. I have so many ideas. I may have to save up for a while because one of the ideas will probably require everybody involved to have a VR headset. But I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to. I don't know why I went into Trump, but I was doing Trump gestures.
You were saying some pretty Trumpy things, yeah.
Frankly, it's gonna be the greatest. A lot of people are saying it's the best D&D.
A lot of people are going to get VR headsets.
I like D&D because D is the highest letter. I know. Can't do the whole alphabet, but I can get to D.
$9.99 from Steven. Eve, how do I overcome my fear of talking about my religious trauma? I want to share my story, but talking publicly on a call is terrifying. I'm hiding from a family member since I was a kid. I'm 30 plus. First of all, that's so normal. Also, just so you know, I get nervous before I do pretty much anything. So I don't know that I can tell you how to overcome the anxiety that I think sometimes comes up. I've just learned to approach it as excitedness instead of nervousness. So that's totally normal. But honestly, it comes with just working up to it. So just little things here and there. If you ever do want to call, if you ever have a question for one of these shows, Alyssa and I host Chewed Gum on Tuesday nights, and we've had a lot of atheists that have deconstructed call in, and we chat about things, and it's a little bit more of a chill vibe over there. So
Chiller
you're
than
always
this
welcome
vibe
to call.
right now, lo-fi.
To be fair, we don't have the lo-fi going, so maybe we need to work on that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
why
maybe that's what we need.
We'll get it.
But yeah, that's a totally normal thing, and I think just working up to it here and there. Start by maybe opening up to a close friend, talking to them more. Talking in, online community spaces can help. You just have to build your confidence slowly. It's not something that's going to click or happen overnight.
I know I wasn't asked, but super useful exercise. If you're talking about, you can just do audio if you don't care about the video side of it, or you can do a camera. Record yourself expressing the things you most want to express.
Yeah.
Then listen, then delete it. And then do it again.
That's great.
And then listen and delete it. And you'll start to recognize things about the way you speak and when it's boring or whatever, like how to be more concise and stuff, and it'll make you feel more confident when expressing it to other people.
And as far as hiding from that family member, I understand, because there was specific people I was worried about finding out about my content for a while. And then it got to the point where I did not care. So if they ever were to confront me, which never happened, I at this point, I don't know how I would treat it. But then my plan was, and this is what you could easily do, you don't owe them anything. So if they're like, well, I heard you talking about this online somewhere, or I saw a video, or I saw or heard this, you can say, yeah, I don't want to talk to you about it. And that's it. You don't owe them anything after that. So
Debating telling off somebody from chat, but I'm going to let it be.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to let it be. You could probably guess what the theme was. I'm going to, without addressing it directly, reading it or drawing attention to the person. Imagine if you are an activist and you are a person who is putting a lot of effort and time into talking about your very painful childhood, your painful story, your painful past, multiple divorces, how it shaped you, leaving a religion that you were so fundamentally attached to. It was basically a cult, and all of that trauma, and that your goal is to share that story with as many people in the hopes of helping as many people. And then you say, well, that might be worth money, but you know what? You are pretty enough that you could just make the money just by being pretty. What a reductionist asshole thing to say. Yeah. Look, if you're a person who didn't mean to say, if you like genuinely just thought like, I just wanted to say you're very whatever, just think about it. Think about it. Do better in the future. I'm not saying you have to leave and we hate you, but take this as a moment to learn, as literally that message is coming in as Eve is trying to walk someone through how to overcome their fear of talking of religious trauma. And it was like, hey, but you know what? I don't even care if you were this good at this job because you're hot. Yay. It's fucked up, man. Like, yeah, think about it.
I think people, and I understand a lot of times people mean well, but also if I can expound on why that oftentimes can be offensive, is for reasons Jimmy said. And it's not a compliment to me when I'm doing work that I think is a skill of mine. This is something I've worked hard to develop and be able to do. And then what gets pointed out is the one thing that I'm just not responsible for. That's not a compliment to me, that you're noticing that over everything else that I've put effort into. It's like, I get it. And if you're a friend telling me I look great today or something, that's cool. That's nice. A random compliment. But to say that could get me in this position more than anything else I do, then I'm like, well, cool. So are you even caring about anything I have to offer? Or are you just looking at me because I'm hot? So that's really just not a compliment.
I sent you a picture of the comment because it was a deleted one. So it's the faded out one.
Okay.
In case you wanted to read the exact wording for yourself, but be better, people. Come on.
Oh God, my eyes. I have to zoom in on this later.
It happens so rarely to me that it's like, yay, someone objectified me. So it's funny how there's the reverse too, where it's like, because no one ever does that to me on the rare occasion, it's awesome. But when it's literally like this thing where it's this barrage of just people wanting to be like, why even have opinions? You're so pretty. I don't know, people. I do know. It's a douchebag thing to say. One-Eyed Heathen says, belief isn't a choice, Jimmy. Would you please explain that and then go frack yourself? Sure. Start believing in God right now. You can't, right? You can't just choose. We can choose things that we can choose to participate in discussions and expose ourselves. We can make choices that ultimately will influence our belief. But either you are convinced of something or you're not convinced of something. And you don't choose to be. You might do other things that make it feel like a choice where you're like, I'm choosing to accept this, or I'm choosing to ignore everything that would, but fundamentally you're either convinced or you're not convinced, and you can't choose that.
I made a TikTok about that when I first started doing all of this. That was one of the first things that just really pissed people off, was that I said that belief isn't a choice. You're convinced or you're not. Put a gun to my head, tell me to believe in Santa. I can lie. I still don't actually believe in Santa. So yeah.
I'm going to read this one too because I want to offend the person with the accent again. Okay. $10 Australian dollars from Cameron Richardson. As an Australian, I can confidently say that your accent is terrible. Great to see you again, Eve, and I'm glad that you're finally back, Jimmy. Now go fuck yourself. I might be making it worse on purpose.
Than what my Australian accent would have been. So we can be grateful that Jimmy's the one reading these. Oh, you're never going to know because I'm never going to do it.
You should.
Really?
I can do good impersonations, but sometimes I need to listen to it first to kind of get back on there. But I used to pretend to be Australian all the time and fooled Australians. So it's definitely one I can do, but off the cuff, not so much.
$5 from Skeptoidius. Remember, you don't need to be naked or have sex to be on OnlyFans. People have all sorts of kinks. For example, Jimmy could show off his hobbit feet.
I've done it too many times for free already. There's no demand anymore. Supply and demand is I gave up the supply and now there's no demand.
It's done.
My feet are on my Instagram, you fucking weirdos. Anyway, $10 from Whiskey Spirit Guide. Just got home from a HEMA tournament. Glad I could sneak in at the end. Eve, you're wonderful. Jimmy, go lap dance yourself. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Whiskey Spirit. Go lap dance yourself. $10 from Biker Nurse Ratchet. Could you please start a call-in show that prioritizes atheists? Some of us need some advice on coming out. You know, Chewed Gum takes calls like that all the time. Also, theists won't call and argue with me, so I think that's another reason.
I think that I think we're just going to continue with prioritizing theists, but we always include atheists. Because I do hear you. There are people who need some advice on coming out, but at the moment, I think that is covered. Though I understand that because we don't clip that stuff as much, maybe it feels like if you miss it, then you've missed it. And that's probably more the problem I'm going to try to solve with clipping than, but I think lots of atheists, I don't know. I think this is, we do something very good here at The Line, better than any other channel. But there are things about coming out as an atheist or being a new atheist and stuff that doesn't require the call-in format that other creators do very well. But that's, you know, if we got super famous and I could just make anything I want because everything succeeded, I'd probably do all kinds of crazy shit.
Well, we took a lot of atheist callers tonight too, so.
That's true. $10 from Zetsunawa. CPAP changed my life. Very happy for you, Jimmy. And yes, you will see snoring everywhere now and be convinced everyone who is tired has apnea. Yep, you're all going to die. I'm going to be the only one left.
Maybe that's my problem tonight, secretly.
Do you know what I was surprised? Is everything is now so... my CPAP machine is like the size of just the body of this camera.
I've seen the new ones. They're, they're like really compact.
And then it's
$5 from...
just a nose strap. You've seen that. I sent you the picture. Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing. Hot. It's literally that's how you are on my phone. So when you called that picture,
that's just to discourage me from calling.
No, it's my favorite thing. I have to answer every time I see that. $5 from Lotta. What do I have to do to get Jimmy to rant about zoos? Is this a thing?
Ooh, probably not tonight, especially because we've been going for a long time. But I am not a fan of zoos. Though I am a fan of zoos. I'm not a fan conceptually of zoos. I think we shouldn't have them. I do understand that zoos have been used for conservation, and I understand that. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I get it. A half measure is better than no measure in some of these cases.
Sure.
Some of the stuff is just straight up immoral. We shouldn't do it. But I'd rather go full measure with conservations without zoos than... And obviously there's certain things we need to replace. Certain things aren't equal to other things. I don't really feel comfortable with any primate, any of our cousins in custody like that. There's a whole lot I could go off about. Fish, though, aquariums are fine. All fish suck, and I don't care if they suffer. I hope they suffer. Somebody's going to be like, exposed.
Jimmy hates
definitely showing
fish.
up on a vegan thing. I think they're all monsters, but I actually love them. I've had saltwater aquariums in the past, and I'm very fond of it. Yeah. Is this me or you? Me. You asked me about zoos. Yeah. 1666 from Exumus. Seems like I need to pay to get you to stop the accent. I'm tempted. So tempted to read it. All right, I'll let it go. Also said this in chat already, but try pawpaw ointment for the mask rash. That's what my CPAP guy recommended. It's not a rash. It's sores. It's open sores. It's wearing the skin away. It's not a reaction. And so part of it, I just think I'm just putting a little of this stuff on it. And I think that in a week or two, it just will callus up and I'll have harder skin. But right now I have very soft skin. I genetically have, I would work almost every day, and yet my hands feel like that of a young child's. It's bizarre. Very soft hands. That's why never go in the sun. You'll have the softest skin. I'm telling you now.
$5 from Sam Mayberry. Hey, Jimmy and Eve, what do you guys think of this saying I came up with? Theists don't have morals, they have orders.
It's profound. I think that you could still say what they have technically are morals, but you wouldn't agree. on what they are, agree that they are well justified. But I think there's a profundity to it. You could use it as the beginning of something. Yeah. So like the basic, a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do, or a lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent, that can be derived from a story. Oh, that's the moral of a story, but yeah. There's different, but almost all of the definitions of morality emphasize a human element, and so I
would say they don't have defensible morals. They have orders. That's the only thing they can defend, that it's an order, and that's it. So $4.99 from Hipster Dofus. Eve, this week's chewed gum was my favorite so far. You had some sassy callers and you and Alyssa handled them perfectly via the mute button. Thank you. Yeah, that was a wild episode. Even Alyssa was getting heated. I was like, oh yes, spicy Alyssa.
I want to put this out here with complete seriousness. Usually I rarely actually solicit true compliments or true desire for people to recognize a quality of greatness of mine. But I fucking nailed it when I put Eve and Alyssa together, both as hosts and as friends.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Somebody owes me a fruit basket. Not one of you two. All the people benefiting it.
Everybody else.
I love mangoes.
You guys need to go in together on an edible arrangement.
Or just go become a patron. Patreon.com/calltheline. That's the thing to do.
Even better.
And there is a tier specifically for supporting Chewed Gum and getting in the Chewed Gum Discord channel. So just saying, you all could do that. Ripsteak Face says, Jimmy, that's why you advertise to create demand. Well, if I knew how to put on foot cleavage or something, maybe we'd have, but I don't know. I don't even like wearing flip-flops. Fucking weird way to live. Having the soles of your feet just flopping all around for anybody to see, like some kind of common hooer. Let's see. All right, well, we're done. Good night. Tell people where to find you and stuff.
I'm here a lot of times. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and basically everywhere you can think of, except for a lot of other places. I'm at Eve_was_framed. I realized how many people are going to be like, then can you? Yeah. No, I'm on the common places, and it's Eve_was_framed.
You can go sign up for Patreon and get nudes from Eve, but as we said at the top of the show, they are nudes of they're me. She'll send them,
I will send them to you.
Nudes, and
but they are, yeah.
It is sweaty 4 days without a shower, butthole close-ups. Want to make sure everybody is aware, and it is a hairy mess down there. After 4 days of no shower, something's going to get caught. I'm just saying. I have the amount of hair that requires daily showering.
You know, somebody's going to message me being like, hey, actually, can you get me that?
If you want to help fight demonetization, which will almost certainly happen on this episode and has been happening on nearly every episode, meaning that we have to send it for review. And in the time where the review gets sent, our algorithmic favor gets super fucked, which has led to lower view counts and lower revenue for the line, which now supports something like 15 people. You can do so by going to patreon.com/calltheline. That is the best way. You'll also get access to our Patreon podcast, Live on the Line, hosted by me, where I impromptu call somebody. I need to do that within the next 24 hours. I'll get the next episode out. We'll see who I pick, as well as you can go to linemerch.com and get you some merch like this awesome design we're putting on a shirt where you can become demonetized. You're part of the demonetized crew, or you can get this sticker that I regret recentering it because people will. All right, let me just fix this. We'll only have it slap me in my face. You've muted.
Oh no, I was just laughing and saying, get that away from my face.
Get that out of my face. And into mine. I've stopped caring what people perceive of me. That's for the thumbnail.
That's my new. I'm gonna actually have to go in and screenshot that, and that'll actually. I'm just gonna put that, and I'm gonna start a collage of pictures of you, and that's gonna be when you call. That's what pops up. You and your CPAP. You with the. That's good. That's really good.
Patreon.com/call the line. Goodbye. I don't have credits today because I forgot to update them because I've been gone for a month, but we'll get that all fixed. There's the music. Ooh. Fade out, please. There we go.